longer, and the number 4 also has a correction to be applied. So the number 1 Mercedes certainly shouldn't be written off yet. It was been, as I say, dancing around for a while, down in 7th place. But with other cars ahead of it having made pit stops, he's now back into 2nd with more fuel on board than the man in front of him, and also lapping faster than the man in front of him.
Interesting also to keep track of what's happening with the A6 AM cars, because Bassam Kronfli, thank you, I couldn't see the letters from that far back, has completed 86 laps and has only made 2 pit stops. So they are the 86 and the 88 and the 888. Khalid Al-Mudhafa is are 1st and 2nd in the class. They're the 2 Dragon Racing Ferraris, and they are both have made 2 pit stops.
The interesting thing there, and where is the 19 car gone? There it is. Dropped down to 6th in its category. That car was leading just a moment ago, but with Ivo Brukes at the wheel of that car, the Mercedes-Benz. But that is taken its 3rd pit stop about 3 minutes ago and has dropped down to 6th position.
It was a 5-minute pit stop, that's why. 4 minutes and 58 seconds.
So they must have run that long and to the fumes,
right? And
it's taken a long time to get it turned around in the fuel stop,
right?
Is this a problem for the 121? This is the
that looked closer than it needed to be.
Yeah, that's the Seat, the Jordan Stott NL car, the red camel car. Just picking up 1 or 2 of the other class leaders. The 997 class Porsche, Maximilian Brahms, on board that at the moment, is back in the top 20, having only completed 2 pit stops. He's on a very long pit stop as well, run as well, with an hour and 15 under his belt, which is no mean feat at all. And we've seen how long those cars can go, about an hour and a half. It's a very long stint.
Well, look at Marco Zolan in the number 3 car, the A6 AM car that's 5th. That's another of the FAC Auto Porsches.
Yeah.
Went an hour and 48 minutes.
And he's still out there.
Well, he's in the fuel.
Yes, the car is in the fuel.
I'm sure he's out now, and that'll change.
That might be the longest single stint we've seen, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stint. A couple other class leaders. SP2 is still the Nicholas McMillan in the 123 Nissan 370Z Academy graduate car. A5 is the number 62 BMW Grease Besrin. Let's see, further down, SP3 is the 164 of Tony Hughes, who's made a pit stop, but he should be able to keep the lead over the number 155, who's also in the fuel depot. Aaron Mason in the 127 is leading D1. And then the 57 with Nadar Zuar is leading A2. Thank you, Paul. And Ricky Coomber is leading A3T in the number 47 car. So those are a look at some of your class leaders.
With 3 hours and 25 minutes now elapsed of the race, and with 3 hours and 25 minutes elapsed, we've had 14 changes of lead. Last year, in the whole race, in the whole 24 hours, we had 28 changes of lead. Wow. So we've already had half as many changes of lead in 3.5 hours as we had in the whole of the 24 hours last year. So very close indeed. And a good sign is always if the leader has to lose the lead when he comes into the pits, that's a good sign you've got a close race. Well, that's been happening multiple times, and it's not just been changing between a couple of cars, it's been changing amongst a lot of cars.
And we've had a lot of lead changes on the racetrack as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It hasn't just been through the rotation of pit stops. There's been some good dicing on the racetrack.
Well, we had Jimmy Bruni you know, battling with the Mercedes-Benz for quite some time, and they swapped back and forth a couple of times. It might have only been a couple of times on the start-finish line, but they were side by side for even half a lap at one stage. There is the Connor de Felipe FAC Auto Porsche going down to turn number 10 at the far eastern side of the circuit, and now climbing up that short chute into 11 and up to 12.
This is a kind of a bit of a coming out party for Connor De Phillippi on the international stage. The young American has had a great weekend so far.
Yeah.
He's been, he hasn't put a foot wrong so far, and has represented himself. He's been one of the quickest guys in the car and one of the quickest guys in the field, and he's doing a great job. Much like Maxime Martin made a big splash last year at the Nürburgring.
And he's taking time out of a BMW.
The number 27.
A Z4, the 27 car, which has got Daniela Schmidt at the wheel of that car. Why do I know Daniela Schmidt's name? Somebody tell me. What else has she done?
Nürburgring.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. And the Swiss entered Porsche then.
Swiss?
Yes, for my mother-in-law, who almost certainly isn't listening at home. Goes down the inside. Hop, hop.
Hop, hop.
Into turn number 1. And our leader of the race continues. And all of a sudden, as we look outside, haven't been able to see the coast for quite some time, by the way. By the way, this comes from Graham Goodwin. Black Falcon confirm what we've been discussing. The correction time takes a while to implement, but will reinstate them to being close with the other leading runners, if not ahead. The only car they weren't sure of is the number 4 Porsche. They don't think that one has an adjustment to come, although, Paul, you think it might have.
It does, yeah, definitely has an adjustment, and I'll absolutely concur with Graham on that one, is that we do have a very close motor race. Certainly, you can't say, well, you could never rule out a Black Falcon Mercedes this early in a 24-hour race anyway, but it still has a substantial advantage, John. It
will be officially dark in 15 minutes from now. The lights on board will go on, but most of the guys, in fairness, have got the lights on already. Nick Damon has been prepped. It's taken quite some time, in fairness, and is about to be rolled out to the TV audience. We'll rejoin you with Sound and Vision together on our syndicated TV partners, and it's streaming on www.24hseries.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Dubai Autodrome and the 9th running of the Dunlop Dubai 24-hour race. We are now 3.5 hours into the 24-hour event, and we have had quite the most remarkable start to this race. The big news since you were last with us an hour and a half ago is we have lost the lead Aston Martin, the Craft Racing number 7, to accident damage, but we've seen a Porsche in the lead, we've seen a Mercedes in the lead, a Corvette in the lead. We've already seen almost half the number of lead changes we saw in the whole of the 24 hours last time. And to tell you exactly what's going on, to give you an update and to talk you through with me the next 2.5 hours, it is Paul Truswell, Jim Roller, and first, John Heinhoff.
Thanks, Nick. Got himself a nice little vantage point down there on the start-finish line. Add a Ferrari to the cars that have led, as well as the Mercedes-Benz, of course, to that list of fantastic marques that have led this race. Jim Roller alongside me to my right, Connor De Phillippi, the leader, in the pits, right as we rejoin after a marathon stint for the young American, who has done just a cracking job and has, for me, I think, really exploded onto the international scene this weekend.
Connor De Felipe has made his trip into the pits, and yes, this has been a bit of a coming out party for young Connor, an American who is a graduate of the Jeremy Shaw Project USA, Team USA, I should say, and he has been a shining star all weekend. He's been consistently quick in the number 4 Porsche and one of the quickest drivers in the field. And there you see the pre-race favorite, the odds makers team that they think should be able to win this race. And Andreas Simonsen has had a great stint coming back from 6th position and being a lap down, is now back on the lead lap. He's only 1 minute and 38 seconds behind our leader.
And when he comes around this time, he will be scored at the lead of the motor race at the end of lap number 94. He's about halfway around at the moment. There's no way the Porsche can get out in time because he is in the fuel stop at the moment. If you're not familiar with what's going on here, you do the normal servicing, tyres and driver change in the pit lane. If necessary, push the car into the garage or behind into the paddock. But fueling is all done at a fuel station, which is at the end of the pit lane, turn hard right. 10 petrol pumps, 10 gasoline pumps, and the other 10 of the 20 are diesel pumps, because we do have diesel cars running here as well. Just noticed Andreas, all 4 wheels off the circuit there. He will be attracting the attention of the race stewards, who don't like to see that as you come out of turn number 12 at the eastern end of the Dubai Autodrome. Traffic, of course, well, from about lap 6, that has been certainly one of the stories here, and that was what did for the number 7 Craft Aston Martin Racing. Got involved with another car, ended up facing the wrong direction on the exit of turn number 7, one of the infield hairpins. Car was recovered, but couldn't be repaired in a safe way to get that car back out again. So much distress for Stefan Muka and Darren Turner, the 2 works drivers attached to the Craft Racing squad, along with Darrell O'Young, the Hong Kong driver, who seems to pump up everywhere, and Tomonobu Fuji, who was in the car at the time of the incident. And as predicted, Andreas Simonsen goes through and takes the lead of the race, to now mean, Paul Truswell, that we have had how many changes of lead?
We have had 15 changes of lead amongst 8 different cars. And just to make the point clear, a change of lead, you have to have 2 different leaders. So there's been 16 events, as it were, 15 changes.
And that's at the start-finish line. That doesn't account for people going and taking lead, retaking. And we have seen a bit of that, in fairness.
Indeed, and it assumes that the race leader was the leader at the end of lap 1, because we did have the case where the person who was on pole position wasn't the person who led the end of lap 1.
Didn't lead at the start of the race, in fact, and there was a penalty handed out for that.
Indeed, Haroon Blake-Molen was pinged for a jump start at the beginning of the race, did a 10-second stop-and-go penalty at his first refueling stop.
And 5 of the 6 manufacturers who are in A6 have led.
The only one who hasn't being Aston Martin.
No, Aston Martin led. The number 7 car led briefly. And did it not?
Didn't lead across the start-finish line, no.
No, not across the start-finish line.
Okay, well, I was going to say Lamborghini.
Okay, yeah, Lamborghini, not
So 5.
But Lamborghini don't have...
So it's 4. I counted Aston Martin. I thought Darren had led a lap. My error.
Lamborghini doesn't have an A6 Pro car.
That's right. The 10 car's an AM car.
Yeah, the 10 A-cam. So,
well, I just bollocks that whole thing up.
No, not at all.
There is the 46 Porsche, lapping steadily at the moment. And the black and white machine with Maximilian Brahms is the first of the 997 cars. The 997 Cup class, which unsurprisingly is for the 997 Cup cars, although I think we've got a 991 in there as well on the new car. And a spin at turn 5 for the second place car, and in doing so it loses second position. The Alex van Toff machine, and in fact it's lost third place as well. Talcanita Senior has dropped the number 5. This is the Spirit of Race Swiss Ferrari, and he has lost 2 positions as the 21 and the 76 has gone through at turn 10.
That's the end of the long back straightaway.
Easy to do. Let's head down. We were talking about the young American Connor De Felipe earlier on. He's with Bruce Jones, the tall fella, down in the pit lane.
Connor De Felipe has been one of the stars of the race so far. It's early days, 3.5 hours in. We've had so many leaders, but Connor, it's a battle out there.
It definitely is a battle, you know. This is my first time in an endurance race, so working through the traffic is definitely, you know, a new process for me to learn. And unfortunately, the only way to learn is by doing it in the race. So, you know, I felt like I managed to try it quite well and was able to hold my speed pretty good until my last couple laps towards the end. There was a little bit of a spin in front of me and I had some contact with another car, but I think the car is okay for the rest of the race as of now.
But when you came here thinking about endurance racing, you thought everyone would keep out of each other's way and drive thinking of 24 hours, but the opening stints of this race hasn't proved that at all.
No, the opening stints have been flat out completely, and I think the rest of the race is going to be that way. With all these cars being so reliable now, it's no longer, you know, trying to save your equipment. It's 24 hours of flat out pushing to the limit, and I think so far the race has proved that.
But you brought the FAC Autotech Porsche number 4 in from the lead. Who's taken over from you?
I believe Sebastian now. Him and I were about the same speed during all of practice, so I have no doubt that he'll be able to keep us up front during his stint.
Well, see you later. Thanks very much.
Bruce Jones down in the pit lane for us in this stint, and welcome back to our broadcast TV viewers. If you've been with us throughout on www.radiolemans.com or in sound and vision at 24hseries.com, you will have seen the gathering gloom, and the lights on board will be hung out over the start finish line in about 6 or 7 minutes time, as we've had another spin out at turn number 7 there. That was the 142 car that went around, but has continued. It does get dark very quickly, and we've said this before, but it bears saying again, Paul, this, because of where we are and because of the time of the year, this, we think, is the longest amount of darkness in a 24-hour race. At Le Mans, actually, it's quite a short amount of darkness. Here, well over 13 hours, so more than half of the race run in darkness conditions.
Yeah, 13 hours and 19 minutes by my research, and that is more darkness than we get at Daytona, for example. So,
and a heck of a lot more than Le Mans.
Yeah, I mean, Le Mans is about 9 hours of darkness, I think. I mean, they deliberately hold it on the longest weekend, or the longest daylight weekend of the year.
Turn 1, car 14 has just had a little spin, but that's turned around and gone on. So there is the Racing Divas, the BMW with the pink decals, which had a little bit of a bump earlier on in turn 1 and has a new front valance on. You can see that quite clearly there, Jim.
Yeah, it looks brand new, and
that's probably because
it is brand new.
Almost certainly.
Let's see, they have
they dropped a lot of time in the pits, didn't they? And they were a class winner last year, and a potential class winner with that diesel 320 diesel BMW this year.
71st overall, 6th in class. They've completed 57 laps, and let me see, their class leader has completed.
While Jim's working that out, let's head down to the pit lane.
With Rob Barr from the 88 Dragon team leading in A6AM, and things seem to be going to plan. Jordan looks like he's about to get back in the car.
Yes, Stuart Hall's getting in the car now, and Bassam Cronfley's just getting... Everything's going to plan so far. We're working to the 2:05 reference lap time, as you know, and yeah, the car performing really well, touch wood.
Unfortunately, it does seem that even a perfect run at 2:05 is not going to be fast enough with the quite increased speeds this year.
Yeah, average lap time of Pro class cars. I think that as night falls, they'll maybe slow down a little, or give it a better chance of chipping away at the overall classification. So focused on the Pro-Am podium, but you know, it's always nice to do as well as you possibly can do. We started 22nd, we're up to about 8th or 9th overall now, so looking good thus far, but there's a long way to go.
And you get very long run time in the amateur classes with the extra fuel and lower weight.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing about an hour and 20, and if we do get any code 60s, that's only going to fall into our hands. So yeah, it feels really nice though at 205s. We're driving really economically, we're blending out the throttle early and treating the car really nicely. I can't imagine we're doing much harm to the brake pads at this kind of speed either.
Rob, thanks very much.
So 2 laps we expect the leader, number 1, to come on pit road. So he's completed 98 laps, and by Paul's calculations, we should be seeing him around lap 100.
So stand by for that down in the pit lane. We have had a little, I think relatively early. I mean, we're getting down towards 4 hours of racing, 20 minutes away from 4 hours of racing. But there is a balance to this race.
It wasn't as close as the camera made it look.
There is a balance to this race and a rhythm beginning to develop, Paul, in the balance of this race. There are a few adjustments that have to be made because of cars. This new rule for this year, when there is a full course caution, which is run here under code 60, which means everybody runs at 60 kilometres an hour, if the top 5 are in the pits or go into the pits, they have an adjustment time to be made. There is an arithmetical formula, which is 0.625
times of a second times the length of the purple period
in seconds, right,
becomes the time, or minutes, it depends how long the purple period was.
Yes.
But becomes the additional time that you have to spend in the pit in order to correct the time. So you're effectively pulled back by that length of time.
So if it was 0.625 times by, if it was only a short one and it was like three minutes, it would be times 180.
Yes,
seconds.
That's right, yes.
And then you would get stopped for that amount of seconds eventually.
But there is a limit, and the whatever time it is will not go over a particular limit. I think it's 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
So they will not hold you for more than 2.5 minutes.
Right.
So there's a kind of an overall maximum that it won't go over that. Otherwise, what you'd have is certain people being held for longer than they actually gained. The idea being is that the unfortunate thing is that if you're in the pits when the code purple happens, it's not a choice that you've made. It's just something that's happened.
The number 10 Lamborghini, sorry to interrupt, the Rhinos Lippert Motorsport entry with Yasumori behind the wheel has spun.
Final corner again.
Yeah, turn 16.
That was early in the corner. That was very early in the piece. We've seen people looping on the exit curve.
Yeah.
And everyone now needs to have their lights on, being reminded on the start-finish line and on the timing and scoring monitors. There's one car that does. It's one of the smaller machines.
Is that one of our onboards?
It is the 127 KPM Racing Golf.
No.
Now, that is the...
121 is on.
That is the Miltech sponsored car, I believe. Tom Onslow Cole is on board. As it comes round the far side of the circuit and back towards us. And just proving the real difference in cars that you can run here. And yeah, that is Tom Onslow Cole in the D1 category. Talking earlier about just how much fun you can have here for a small entry fee. A sub 2 litre entry fee, I think somewhere in the region of €5,000. And for that, you get the car brought out here. Now, that is the MRS Porsche, one of them. That's a GT3 Cup car. And that was the third go of getting it started before it went out of the pits. And Nick Damon can give us an update on some more of the leading runners who've been in and out of the pit lane.
Yeah, the Spirit of the Race number 5 car, which has star drivers Verlander and Bruni, but also the father and son of I must get this pronounced correctly, the Talcanistas. Talcanista Jr. got in the car and gave it the best double black Lionels I've seen for a long time. Just with equal mile, he just absolutely floored it ridiculously. But he is now in the race.
And Bruce?
Yeah, I thought the only team that stayed and put a new engine in last night was Coroiser Racing, but in fact, number 28. I've just been told a water hose went off and they drove another lap was driven. Ooh. And so they left at about 5:30 for a meeting with soap and shower water. That's
the Works Ginetta, yes?
The Works Ginetta, sorry, I beg your pardon, Lawrence Tomlinson. Who's at the wheel? Adam Sharp's about to take it over, one of the few drivers of my sort of height in the pit lane, actually.
Yeah, and a very, very good peddler. Second in A6 ARM at the moment and sitting in 15th, a very creditable 15th with LT, Lawrence Tomlinson, the man at the head of the LNT group, which includes Ginetta, among other things. And Bruce?
I'm just going to say that Mike Simpson just told me their approach was just to take it steady, steady, steady through the early stages of the race. And they're bit by bit rising up the order. There are quite a few cars in the pits, some for good, some not. It looks so Seat number 98 may be parked up. Nobody's working on that at the moment, so it's early not to be touched. I have 142. One of the GC cars, that's been in and out of the pits. I reckon that won't be with us for a lot longer. But anyhow, let's not count them out yet. But as the night falls, the work is really starting.
Do we have an official retirements list, Paul? Certainly we heard the 7 had gone out the Aston Martin.
I don't have one yet, but I haven't been thinking about that just yet. I will bring you that. How about at the top of the hour, top of 4 hours, because we're at 3 hours and 47 into the race at the moment, and I'll make it a business of mine to see if I can get that by 4 hours.
Bruce tells me on the talkback that the number 163, the Team Parker Racing, are going for an engine change. Clearly not the work of a moment. And just underlining the different attitude to endurance racing that Creventic and the Dunlop Dubai 24 Hours, indeed all of their endurance races have.
You wouldn't be able to do that in most places.
Most other places you would not be able to do that, but then again you wouldn't be allowed to get a drag back into the pit lane, you know, round through the back of a push start, yeah, etc, etc. It's just a different way to go racing. Well, the darkness is beginning to fall here, and it falls fairly quickly here in Dubai at this time of the year as we watch the second-placed BMW. This is Paul Dell'Alana circulating at the moment, and now head into 12th position car, the 66th Attemptor Racing Porsche, with Tim Müller getting out of that car. And we get into the time of the race, Jim, where certainly in the next 3 or 4 hours, often races are won and lost in the early hours of darkness if you don't make that transition. I always think the transition from darkness, from daylight into darkness, is actually a more dangerous time than from darkness into daylight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I agree with you that the transition periods are when the races sometimes are won and lost, but I think that the dawn period is a little bit tougher because you're more tired, and as the car warms up with the sun and that sort of stuff, it does breed some more errors. The crew is more tired, and sometimes that breeds more errors in the pit stops.
I'll grant you that, but in John's on John's side of the fence, I agree with him actually on this one. As it gets darker, you don't realise that you can't see as well. As it gets lighter, you don't realise that you can see better, but it helps.
Well, no, you're right. That's a great point.
And the other thing is, of course, is that there's much more cars around as it goes dark than there is as the sun comes up.
I think the clever teams will have put drivers in to do the transition. I remember talking to Emanuele Pirro about this at Le Mans a few years ago, and he said, if I can, I always like to get in whilst it's light and do the transition into dark rather than just getting in the dark.
And who's getting into the number 1 Mercedes as it gets dark?
That would be your own Blake Kamolan, isn't it?
No, it'll be Bernd Schneider.
Who has he not driven yet?
He's not driven it yet.
Oh, good heavens.
I suspect it'll be Schneider who takes over.
Well, you promised they'd be in on lap 100, and it's lap 102 now, so they're not listening to you, Paul.
Well,
does that get them a penalty of some description?
No, it doesn't, and I forgive everybody in this race because it's so complicated. The trouble is, you don't know how much fuel there is on board the car at any particular time. But suffice it to say for the moment that Andreas Simonsen has been out there for over an hour and 10 minutes, although, to be fair to him, that hour and 10 minutes it hasn't included any purple periods, has it? Because he got into the car just after the purple happened. So Simonsen has been driving flat out for over an hour and 10, and that's going to be using up a lot of the fuel in the Mercedes.
Richard Lyons in the 5th place Mercedes, 5th place Aston Martin, getting very close. Now, have we got a full course caution? Yes, we have.
We have.
Oh, disaster for the number 1 car, because Nick Damon is down in the pit lane for the race leader, and it's due in any time soon.
Absolutely. Bernd Schneider has just done all the fittings you need to do to get the HANS device nicely perched and tightened up the bottom buckle of his helmet. 2 fingers in there, and he's now putting his gloves on, and he's just sitting to the left of me. But he will see his car coming in, I would think, in a lap now, which will be 5 minutes. Now, they have got fuel, and perhaps if they can just eke this out, they might hope to not have to come in under the code purple. But Schneider walks back, stalks back. The tyres haven't been offered yet. They are actually just servicing the 44, I think it's Black Falcon's 3 or Black Falcon's 4 machine, the Porsche. So they may be able to change things, and at some point.
Flatbed Nick is heading out towards the early part of the track, and I think it's over by 6 and 7 again. I can see a number of people over there.
It's car number 43, John, the BMW Z4M Coupe, which is off at turn 5, exactly as you suggested. Turn 5 is actually sort of the
kink just before it, before 6 and 7. I can see the lights flashing now, and indeed picked it up on the screen, and that car has been running well up the field, and that has had impact on the front. You can see by the jaunty angle of the bonnet, and an intervention vehicle has been called for from the pit lane. So that is going out now. Code 60, full course caution, yes. No overtaking, correct. But why do we not have a safety car out in the circuit? Simply because everyone has to drive at 60 kilometres an hour, and basically that means that you should keep your separation between the other cars and drive at 60 clicks. The track is divided up into sections. The timekeepers know what the target time, the bogey time if you like, for those sections are, and then if you go over that, you are penalised. Oh, ambulance on the circuit, never a good thing to do. Also in the pit lane at the moment, we have the 38 car of Rob Huff, who has come in out of third place, and is serving a penalty for coming in under code 60 the last time we had a code 60, because the new rule for this year is the top 5 cars overall are not allowed to pit, may not pit under code 60 without taking a 0.625 of a second penalty for each second that the code 60 lasts.
And he's going to come into the pits and get another penalty.
Yes, of course he is. And the worst part of it is that coming in when he did, he would have expected to get the petrol pumps empty as one of the first cars to come in. But sitting there now, everybody else in the field who can come in whenever they like can get there and beat him to the petrol pumps. So it's all gone horribly wrong for the 38 car.
And currently there are 3 cars at the petrol pumps.
Yes, I mean, it's not supposed to penalise them badly.
Yeah, 5, 6 now, so there's 4 pumps open.
So, we'll see how this one pans out, because when the organisers decided this, the idea was that even though they recognised the fact that people would need to come into the pits under code purple, they didn't want to penalise them from it. They just wanted to compensate.
The one car has come out has stayed out. Yeah, sorry, I keep using the word penalty. Anytime you have to sit in that box, it's a penalty.
That's fine. And
we can jump around the semantics all we want, but that's...
Yeah, it is the penalty box, but the idea is that it doesn't give them a disadvantage, it just takes away the advantage that they've gained from being in the pit.
I haven't seen Andreas Simonsen come into the pit lane.
No, he stayed out. He stayed out. So he may try to tough out this Code 60.
Well, that is the BMW Coupe being recovered on the back of the flatbed. This may be a quickie Code 60, which is probably very good news for the leaders of the race if they can hang out before then, as the Viper comes out without its lights on and Porsche behind it with just its running lights on. We should be back to green flag racing fairly shortly. So we continue on radiolemans.com, and for you watching on the World Wide Web, www.24hseries.com. No geo-blocking, no ads, just motor racing. Well, and us having a bit of a womble on about what's going on. When was you thought that Andreas Simonsen might be in it as long ago as 4 laps, lap 100? How long do we think he can go? He's done 1 hour and 17 minutes, Paul. He's obviously on a leaner map at the moment. If it looks like the BMW is being recovered now, if he can hang out, that's all great news, isn't it?
It's 36 laps that he's done so far on this tank of fuel. To be fair, 36 laps was done on the very first stint of the very first tankful, but I put it in my own little mind that he wouldn't be able to do 36 laps because the first tankful is a full 120 litres, whereas the Mercedes, when it comes in, which it has done twice, only twice so far, is only allowed to put in 105 litres. So he's had 210 litres in, and he's had 120 litres used. So it depends on that first stint how much was used, and of course that is always a bit of an estimate.
Now,
another of the top, sorry, just to mention this quickly, John, another of the top 5 cars has just come into the pits. Number 4, out of 4th place, Sebastian Asch in the Fach Autotech Porsche.
The Viper now has its lights on. Good news. It was Marco van der Naap, by the way, who was at the wheel of the 43. We've seen the ambulance coming back onto the infield. No details at the moment about the driver's condition, so we won't speculate about that. Unfortunately, we picked that up late, so I can't tell you whether the driver got out of the car on his own or not, which would normally be the first thing that we would do. Just into the pit lane, Rob Huff has got out of the 38 cars. We saw him taking that adjustment time, and when we get back with our TV colleagues, Nick can have a word with the former World Touring Car Champion. And still we work the Code 60. Where is the flatbed? Can't be that far away from going back to green. It's coming in fact, through... Well, the good news is that the flatbed that has picked up the number 43 BMW, the car that Marco van der Naap was driving, that has brought out our 3rd Code 60, has cleared the circuit, so we should be going back racing very quickly. René Muniz has jumped into the 38 car, which means World Touring Car Champion Rob Huff can talk with our Nick Damon.
Well, Rob, when the car was going round, it was great, but you kept turning up in the pits at the wrong time. Not your fault, just bad luck.
Yeah, just really bad luck. I think we seem to have settled into a fairly steady 3rd place, which is great. Had to push really hard on the outlaps of the second stint I just did there, because I had the number 2 Black Falcon right up behind me, so I wanted to try and keep him behind. But yeah, the car's running well. We pitted there under a Code 60, and we had a stop-and-go penalty for a violation somewhere along the line in the petrol station or something. So, but it's just, it's a bit different to the normal 30-minute races that I do, but no less fierce, that is for sure.
Great battle with the Porsche of Conor Filippi, and you've had some good racing, which is perhaps a surprise in a 24-hour race.
Yeah, I mean, the first hour with the Black Falcon number 1 SLS and the number 4 Porsche, we were having a great ding-dong between the 3 of us, and just managed to get the upper hand on them, mainly through the traffic. I think the old touring cars has come in quite handy with picking my way through the traffic, and Yeah, and got them both that way. Unlucky for them, great for us. But there's a long, long way to go yet. You know, we're not expecting anything at the moment. We're just putting laps away and build it up to the last 4 hours.
And do you get a long break now, or are you going to adjust the order as you go?
No, I think we're the only team with 3 drivers in the car. So every 4 hours at the most, I'm going to be getting back in, possibly every 2 hours. So I've just double stinted. Mark started off with a double stint. Rene's going to go out. I'm not sure if anyone knows quite what Rene's going to do yet, but we'll see how we go. I know Mark's going to get into at least a double, so should have 3 hours to relax.
Well, best of luck, and hopefully next time you don't pit under a code 60.
Thank you, cheers.
Cheers, Rob.
The 4 cars also pitted now, John. So that's the 38 and the 4 that will have 2 code 60 pit stop violations too.
Andreas Simonsen manfully has gone round again, has he not? And started lap 106 now, and we expected him in on lap 100. Could be on the fumes. Now that looks like the lights of a Mercedes-Benz.
Yes, it is.
That are shining through the darkness.
Can I just correct something that I said earlier on about this compensation time which is given? It's not 0.625 of a second multiplied by the time of the purple. It's 0.625 of a second multiplied by the time of the pit stop. Okay. So
that would make sense.
Which makes more sense if you think about it, because
yes.
that's the time that is being gained whilst the car is on the track. So it's not the length of the purple that counts, it's the amount of time that the car spent in the pits.
And that's why Gary Robertshaw said this morning, if you can do a super quick pit stop, get a fill without getting stuck at the petrol pump, it actually isn't that much of an issue.
Exactly, but it's how long you spend in the pits which drives how long the compensation time is going to be set at.
So if you have to come in and your driver's got time, it's much better to just send them straight for fuel and back round again.
Perhaps that's why the 4 car last time only made a 50-second pit stop.
There you go. I wonder if he just drove straight through the pit lane. Actually,
that could be.
No, it wouldn't take him that long. Nearly a minute to drive down the pit lane. No, he would have gone in and just topped up the fuel. What happened was that he probably wasn't very empty.
A couple of people asking about the V8 Racing team that were on pole position. Currently, the big bagger is in 10th position. Rick Albrecht at the wheel of the 21 car. 10th overall, 10th in A6 Pro, but now 4 laps off the leader there. That has been a pretty cracking pace set at the head of the field. Although that said, there are only 2 cars in the field who have lapped in the race quicker than 2 minutes, being the number 21 car and the current leader, the number 1. Everyone else is 2 minutes and above.
And those laps under 2 minutes were all set in the first hour of the race. In fact, the first few laps of the race. So
before they started the lap traffic, it all happened in the first 5 laps before they started to hit lap traffic. Now
I wonder just how much longer Andreas Simonsen can go out there without risking running the Big Ben's drive as Rennie Muniz gets. I mean, it's just great for a gentleman driver. You get out in the dark and your first 2 or 3 laps, you're cruising around, picking up the
acclimation,
almost like doing, you know, lead and follow in a race school here, because you've got the chance to pick out your braking points,
yourself to the conditions,
blink your eyes, that sort of thing. Nick Damon is down in the defending champions pits, the number 1 car, Abu Dhabi by Black Falk, at any side of Bernd Schneider coming back out again, ready to do some work.
Bernd Schneider is perched on the pit wall, which is a bit of a tongue tire.
There you go.
There we are.
Tongue tire is a tongue tire.
Only 4 hours in and I've lost it. You can see down to the left there with Jürgen that the tyres are ready to be offered. They are out and they've been out for a while. I think there's a case they really are trying to see how long they can go. They can possibly avoid running into the code 60, which now Paul's explained it to me. I'm not sure it's a massive disadvantage, but I suppose you don't want the extra worry of knowing you've got to serve a penalty at some point. But you would think with the tyres ready to go and therefore cooling from where they were, which was slightly warmer, there's no tyre warmers here, that they would want to have Andreas in, well, pretty soon. But with 5-minute laps, that could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes' time.
Well, the BMW that caused this full course caution, the code 60, has been recovered, but there's work going on the outside of the corner at turn number 14, and I can see the little forklift truck just moving some tyres. And so the BMW has been moved, but there's some remedial work going on the driver's right. Looking from this camera at turn 14, just to the left of where this camera, you can see the track workers going through, and there was a little forklift truck, and I think we'll see some tyres coming through here any second now, or some, there they go, build-up tyres that have been moved around and replaced. So the organisers taking the opportunity whilst they were recovering cars, or a car, to do a little bit of other work on the circuit. And there you can see some more work going on with the road sweeper. Now that is at the scene of the accident at turn 5, and the road sweeper there is clearing up the oil dry that they've had to use to get rid of the fluids from the BMW.
And there's Bernd Schneider on the pit wall.
And he's ready. He's like a coiled spring, isn't he?
I bet he's drumming his fingers.
Yeah.
Bring me my car now, young man.
Well, I mean, if he can hang out and come in as soon as you go green, that is an advantage. There is an advantage to that. I mean, nobody wants to get these adjustments, but you can't run it dry. Run it dry out there and you will lose a lap. At least one lap. And that's the worry. Now, where is Andreas Simonsen? He's in one at the moment as the...
Well, here's the question.
Look, they're taking... I see what they're doing. They're having to take those tyres there on the front straight at the moment round to turn 5 to replace some of the tyres that the BMW has deranged, and they won't go counter race, which is absolutely correct. They will use the cutouts if they can, but wherever they've brought them from, they couldn't get back to turn 5. Turn 5 is in the first sector, and that makes it ever so difficult to get to that without driving around the track, and certainly without going the wrong direction. So the track workers doing the best they can. Another pit caller coming in, but it is not one of the top 5 cars, so it is not going to be an issue. So the clock ticks down, and we are just after 6 o'clock here in the Middle East for the 9th running of the Dunlop Dubai 24 Hours. We're in our 3rd, Paul, or 4th Code 60? 3rd.
3rd,
yes.
Code 60.
Thank you. And the race therefore neutralised after the accident to the 43 BMW. Marco van der Naap, seen by TV getting out of his car, The ambulance, a precautionary measure, of course. We'll get you any details of Marco's condition as soon as we can. The wait at the moment, with the BMW having been recovered to the infield and already back in the paddock, in fact, is to repair the barriers, the tyre barriers at turn 5 where the BMW nosed in. And we're just waiting for one of the pickup trucks with a ready-made bale to get down there. I did see a forklift truck heading down there as well. As I can see, more yellow lights on the infield at turn 14. I think that is just one of the intervention Audi TTs. Yes, it is. So everyone should be cruising around at 60 kilometres an hour, hence the code 60, the purple flag with the white cross of the 60 in the white circle in the middle, which has provoked so much comment over the years, but is a system that is finding favour further afield than the Creventic races and here and the longer distance races and here at Dubai.
Daily Sports Car reporting that we may see some iteration of the code 60 methodology at Le Mans this year.
Well, Pierre Fillon saying to Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com, that was a distinct possibility. They were just waiting for that to be refined and work out exactly how it would work in the slow areas around the track.
I would pose this question to both of you. Which is going to be worse? To pit under the code 60 and do as quick a pit stop as you can. Here.
Yeah.
Yes, here at Dubai. Pit under the code 60. Make as quick a pit stop as you can, therefore limiting the amount of give back that you have to do, or to pit under green when the field is at full song. Where are you going to lose more? On the give back, or while you're parked for 3 minutes while the field's at speed? That's almost a lap and a half.
That my friend is the $64,000 question.
Yeah, I mean, what has been?
I think you pit.
I think you pit too. I've been thinking about this during.
Paul will know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this, whether he pits or not, is purely a question of whether he's got the fuel or not. Because, as we've said before, the idea of the compensation time is not to disadvantage, but to take away the advantage. So I don't think it really matters whether you pit or not. I mean, you're going to have to come in, you're going to have to change front tyres, you're going to have to change driver. I think what was clever, the allinkle.com Mercedes pitted under code 60, took their penalty under code 60.
Exactly.
That was the smart move.
Exactly.
That was what you were talking about.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, I thought it wasn't.
But that's part and parcel of what I'm talking about. Not completely, but yes.
Sorry, but the smart bit is if you're going to take your penalty, then you take your penalty under code 60, because there's nothing in the rule that says you can't take your code 60 penalty under a code 60. So we'll see how it pans out. This is a long code 60, I have to say that. It started some 20 minutes ago now, just over 20 minutes ago now, and that's the longest code 60 we've had by quite a long way. The first one was just under 9 minutes, the second one just under 11 minutes. So we've now been under code 60 for longer than the first two put together. Somebody else comes into the pits. It's a Schubert car, but it's not the Z4. It's the Racing Divas. They're being penalised for something because they're stopping in the penalty box.
They were asked to go and see the clerk of the course a little while ago. I would think that would be for avoidable contact. It was an accident, but they lost the back end of the car when breaking into turn one and hit another car. Caused them more issues than the other car, but
10 seconds was all it cost them anyway. They've now gone on to the pit stop proper.
Full set of new tyres for the number 90 BMW 320 diesel. And they are many laps down. I think you said they were, 80 laps down or something?
What number they are?
90.
Thank you. They are... They've completed 66 laps, so they are 31 laps down.
Right, and the leader in their class had completed 20-odd laps more than them the last time that we looked. So, quite clearly, they are out of contention.
So the 38, his most recent pit stop was 5 minutes and 27 seconds.
And that included
serving
some penalty time, but it wasn't that long.
So 5:27 by 0.6.
625.
Yeah, 625.
It's out calculated. And it's a maximum of 2.5 minutes.
I'm going to get my base 60 calculator.
No, don't worry. And it's a maximum of 2 minutes 30 anyway. Still the work going on over by turn 5, by the way. I can still see at least one vehicle over there, but that looks to be nearly done, if I'm honest. We could be going racing quite...
I used to hate it when we would be away at Sebring or Petit, and then we'd come back, and the first thing that would happen, we'd go under caution for half an hour.
Yeah. Not on TV terms, it's...
Really?
Thanks.
Yeah. Really?
Let's go down to the pit lane. We saw a 10-second stop and go for the number 90 BMW, fighting back some 25 laps down back from their class leader. Nick Damon is with the Racing Divas. How appropriate.
I'm with Shirley Vanderloop. Shirley, the Racing Divas cars has already had a really eventful race, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's true. We had 2 accidents already. It's really, really sad. I had a really good stint, but then unfortunately I was going out of the turn, and Seat Leon hit me on the back, and I couldn't do anything. So it's a shame, and it's not necessary to do those things, I think.
Do you know what happened in the first incident that broke the front of the car?
I haven't heard yet, because I was going into the car and they spoke about it, so I don't know yet.
How difficult is it when you've just done the stint where you drove into the dark? How difficult is that to do?
I think it's really good to drive into the dark because you can get used to it a little bit. It's easier for my stint in the night later on. So.
And do you think you can come back from this? You've lost a lot of laps, but there's still a few hours to go.
Yeah, last year they also lost a little of time and they still won. So hopefully there's still something in for us.
Jerry, thank you very much.
Question from one of our listeners here, Paul, this is very interesting. Egil Sandfeld has tweeted at Paul Truswell and at Specutainment, with code 60 in effect, how come lap times are fluctuating between 23s and 47s? And you have 10 seconds to answer that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I suspect that 60 kilometres an hour changes depending whereabouts you are on the circuit. I'll say no more than that for the moment, because there's no good reason for it. But remember, last year we did see cars waving fists because somebody, I can't remember who it was now, but somebody thought there was not a... they weren't travelling at 60 kilometres an hour, so...
Sage words from Paul Truswell whilst we continue to work this code 60. It's Andreas Simonsen who leads. His gap is 4 minutes 15 seconds, which of course on a 2-minute lap would sound like he was well up the road, but of course it's not a 2-minute lap at the moment. It's more like a 5-minute lap. And that will change. How long is the circuit here, actually? That's a good question, because we should be able to tell exactly what the bogey time is.
It's 5.4 kilometres.
So it's 5.4 minutes, then, is the bogey time, and 0.4 of a minute is 4 6 is 24. So 5 minutes and 24 seconds is the bogey time.
Yeah, and the timekeepers know that, and they'll be pinging people, and that was another reason why we had stop-and-go penalties during last year's race, was for exceeding 60 kilometres an hour during the purple period. Andreas Simonsen, 5:26. That's a very good lap. 5:43 by Reddy Munish, not so good. 5:41 by Paul Dall'Anna, not so good. 5:25.9, Matt Griffin, pro driver, very good indeed. That's the sort of times that we want to see. Let's head back down to the pit lane
with Bill Oberland. Bill, from the 76 car, you're in second place, and that's certainly above the expectations we had. Is it above the expectations you had?
No, not at all. We knew, I mean, I came here a couple of years ago. I love this place so much that I just wanted to get back here with Team Schubert. It was fast then, it's fast now. As it goes tonight, you watch, it's going to be quick. You know, the Mercedes and the Corvette, in the right conditions, I think they're very, very fast. But we're going to put our heads down. You look at this driver lineup. You know, you got Dane Cameron and Dirk Werner, and I'm going to put my head down as hard as I can, and we're gonna.
And you've got Claudia coming in.
We got Claudia, yeah. See, so I mean, we got a great driver lineup. I mean, they've all been great endurance drivers, and the car is fast. So as long as we don't make any mistakes, that's the trick right now. Keep it clean. Wait till the sun comes up, and then go racing.
Do you think you've got the actual pace of the SLSs, which have been so dominant for the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do. I think. You know, from what I saw out there earlier, that there was nobody who was going away from me at all. And I was able to run them all down one by one and pass them to get to the front. If that's an indicator, then I'm feeling very confident.
Now, you're an endurance expert. You've run endurance races all around the world. Were you as surprised as we were about how feisty this race has been for the first couple of hours?
I couldn't believe it. I was watching Dirk, my teammate, start the race, and it looked like a sprint race. And I'm like, oh, man, if this is going to go like this for 24 hours, it's going to be tough. It's settled down. Everybody is taking it easy. They're being respectful now. And there's just such a speed discrepancy between our cars and the lower classes, and everybody is so fun to interact with. I mean, it's like a video game out there. It's great fun.
Bill, thanks. Carry on. Get some more rest. Thank you.
Damon down in the pit lane with Bill Oberlin. One or two people already getting themselves set for the evening. That looks like a 964 Porsche out there in the darkness, with somebody already thinking about what's going on. It hasn't set the car alight, by the way. It's just having a little bit of a barbie out there. Let's run through some of the class leaders while we get the opportunity. There's Bill Oberlin's car out in the darkness. Good pick up from the guys on the cameras, the 76 car. The first of the GT3 AM cars.
Just to mention before you go through yours, because that car is due to take over the lead of the race when the #1 Black Falcon Mercedes stops, and it will be when. It'll happen sooner or later. Whether it's under purple or green, doesn't matter. That car is close enough to be able to take over the lead.
And the forklift is still working on the tyres, by the way. Nick Damon says he expects that this lap will go down to him as soon as it does. I'll rattle through some of the leaders. Stuart Hall is in the number 88. Dragon Speed Ferrari in 13th place, which leads the A6 GT3 AM category on 103 laps. In the 997 category, it's now the 44 that is leading that, and that's one of the Black Falcon cars as well, if I remember rightly. Anders Fjordbach at the wheel of that 997.
Correct, it is, yes.
Thank you. And SP2, Leon Rinschbach in the Viper, back at the lead of SP2 after some gearbox problems with that car. So very quick comeback for that car, although it has been helped by other gear selection problems on that car. It has been helped by one or two of the other cars, notably the Nissans, having some problems. We had an alternator problem for that. The 62 leads A5. SP3 is Ross Warburton in the 164. So there are some more of your leaders. We are still on the third Code 60 of the 24 hours. So 4 minutes and 14 seconds, Paul Dall'Anna is behind Andreas Simonsen.
But that's less than a lap, and as we were saying, even at this pace, as and when the Black Falcon Mercedes comes into the pits, there is a Mercedes in the pits, but it's not. It is a Black Falcon car, so Andreas Simonsen has the fuel light flashing, and so Simonsen has decided to go down into the pits. Nick Damon is there.
And after an internal bout of wait, with people bored and sitting on tyres for pretty well half an hour during the whole of this Code 60, suddenly the flurry of activity starts. And with the Gullwing cars, it's even more spectacular because the doors fly up and the driver flies out, the next one comes in, and there's mechanics everywhere else. There's a sock puppet man from Peugeot days as well, leaning across from the passenger side. And they got the 4 tyres on, really quick. The car's showing actually on the left-hand side quite a few signs of contact, guys. There's a few, the bare carbon has been etched, shall we say, by various amounts of tyre and paintwork. And Andreas Simon is debriefing, but that is a very, very quick stop, which is what you need to do when you have to have another 0.625 seconds per second you've been here. So I think that's was a case where they really had to stop, and they thought we really had, we're on fumes, and he's turned right to pick up fuel, unsurprisingly. And any minute now, we'll grab a word with Andreas when he's got a chance to decompress slightly and get his helmet off.
I did think there was something going on the left-hand side door that just held up for a moment, because Bernd was in the car, on the right-hand side, excuse me. Bernd was in the car, the door was closed on his side, and the tyres were on, it was down, but there was something going on the right-hand side, so I'm not sure what had happened there in terms of whether they were downloading something or refilling a drinks bottle.
I think the download's the right thing. I think that may well have been the cart coming out. I was on the right-hand side. I'll make sure I'm on the left from now on, but that is something I have seen before in these cars. They pull out the memory cards. I'm not sure whether that's just a WEC thing, though. I'm not sure whether that's something you have to do in Dubai as well.
Just waiting for the 76 car to come round and take the lead. And of course, as ever, all of these things happen when our TV, one of our syndicated TV partners, is in break. But if you're watching on www.24hseries.com, then you will have seen all of that, or listening on radiolemans.com. Well, as our viewers on Motors TV rejoin us, hello there, and welcome back if you've been away. We're still working the Code 60, but this number 76 car may well be about to take the lead of the race under Code 60. How can that happen, Hindhoff, you say? Because no overtaking is allowed. Well, the leader, Andreas Simonsen, in the number 1 Mercedes-Benz, came into the pits finally and changed to The driver change was made to Bernd Schneider, and that car could go no further on its fuel. So Andreas Simonsen out of that car, and this was just a few moments ago. Just notice there's a slight delay on the right-hand side. The car is down, the tyres are on, but the beast is not fired and running. Now the right-hand door goes down and Bernd Schneider is waved off to the fuel pumps, which he sits at still. Let's head down to the pit there live now with Nick Damon, who has Andreas Simonsen in the car. Maybe we can find out what was going on the on the right-hand side of that car, Nick.
Andreas, a great stint, but you really had to come in at that point, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know how much fuel we had left, but I think it was like 5 liters or something in the car. So no, I think there will still be code 60 for a bit more time now. So I think it was safe to come in.
Everything looked good in the pit stop. Then right at the end, and it may not have been a problem, but your car went down and the guy was still sitting in the passenger side. Was there a problem? Were you sorting something out?
No, I think they just grabbed the data out of the car to see how much fuel there was in, for one thing. But no, there's still no problem with the car, knock on wood. But
now, what we have seen, what's really been the theme so far of this race is just how aggressive and how fast it's been. And is that enjoyable for you as a driver, or are you just thinking, hang on, we've got 22 hours to go, we've got 21 hours to go?
Yeah, now it's a bit more like a sprint race, even when you really have to push all the time and still not overdrive. So it's really, for us, it's really fun. When to have the time as was before, this is a bit more racing for us racing drivers. So no, it's really good. And now the competitors are really good. The field is really strong. So you really have to push all the time. You can't try to go slow and try to make it up in the end. So you really have to push here.
Andreas, thank you very much. You're pleased to know that Bernd Schneider's filled up and he's still in the lead, but that probably will mean next time he comes in, he'll get a correction for pitting under code 60.
Well, yes, it will. Not probably, it absolutely will, and that is why the 0.625 is added on. It's that time of the evening, isn't it, where things are beginning to slow down a little bit. One or two people, I'm sure, will be just slowing down themselves. Good time to pop over for a cup of coffee at Cafe Nero on the middle part of the pits. Terence and the rest of the guys doing a great job. It's a new feature here at Dubai for the Autodrome this year for the 24 hours. And just on the about the sort of where the braking area for turn number 1 is, and the hospitality areas. Pop down to see them. They are ready and willing to get you revved up and give you the pit stop that the leaders just had. Now there is the leader back out there, Paul.
Yeah, now he is back out there, but of course the advantage that he gained was by pitting whilst the code purple was on and everyone else was going slowly. Now, by my reckoning, and I do stress that it's my reckoning, not what the officials will reckon, is that he will have to be held for over 2 minutes. In fact, 138 seconds he'll have to be held in order to compensate for the advantage that he got. So 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Doesn't have to be next time he makes a pit stop, but at some point he'll have to make that
Could you
correction.
sort of accumulate them and have them all at the end?
You can if you want. Yeah, nothing, as far as I know. Let me put it that way. As far as I know, there's nothing to stop you accumulating them and doing them at any time. What was interesting was the way that the number 38 allinkle.com car decided to take his during a purple period. And I don't know whether the organisers might frown at that and say you can't take your penalties during a purple period, and they might ask for that to be done again. One of the characteristics of Creventic is that they sometimes change the rules as they go along when somebody catches them out.
Yep.
And it is all about fairness. What they've said all along is we don't want to have this race ruined by protests. If you've got a problem with something that's happened, come and talk to us. Don't fill out one of the protest forms.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've just seen the Audi pulling into the pit lane, so that normally means to me that the work has been done. We're expecting to see a green flag within the next 60 seconds or so, so we will go back racing with about 19.5 hours of racing still to go here at the Dubai 24 Hours. All the work has been completed on the far side of the circuit, and the green flag is waving. And we are back to racing with 19.5 hours still to go for the Dunlop Dubai 24 Hours of 2014, the first of the big international endurance races. Bathurst coming next, of course, in a couple of weeks' time. And the RadioLeMans.com crew bringing you the audio to go with some fantastic nighttime pictures, as the crews now have been released and the cars pick up pace from the 60 kilometres an hour of the neutralised race back to full racing speed. So from 5 minutes and 24 seconds target time, I expect to see people at the front end of the field running somewhere around about 2:01, 2:02 seconds in the GT3 cars. At the moment, Bernd Schneider leads the race in the number 1, the car that has won for the last 2 years. Well, not that car, but the team that has won for the last 2 years, Abu Dhabi by Black Falcon. Paul Dalla is some 31.5 seconds back in second place in the 76 BMW. In third, but a lap away from the lead, is René Munich in the 38 all-Inkel BMW. Oh, sorry, all-Inkel Mercedes-Benz. I've got a mental block with that one. Benz. All-Inkel Benz. In fourth position is the number 4, and that is a Porsche. And that is a... that's not quite a further lap back, actually. That's Sebastian Ash at the wheel. Aston Martin number 17. The remaining Aston Martin, because the big news is that the number 7 Kraft AMR Racing Vantage V12 went out earlier on with accident damage, and that remaining Aston in 5th position, some 8.1 seconds ahead of the sister car to the leader, the Black Falcon Mercedes-Benz, Khaled El Khabaisi at the wheel of that one, and that is your top 6.
We had 38 minutes altogether under code purple there, code 60, and that brings the total cumulative time under code 60 to 58 minutes, 58.5 minutes, so very nearly an hour. Of course, being the Anaraki type that I am, what I'm now looking for is how many laps are going to be completed in the race, because I was thinking we might get a record distance, but...
what would be a record distance?
629 laps is what you're looking for. And, well, if we go the rest of the race, not out of range, if we go the rest of the race without any code purples, then we can still get record distance. That's not an issue. The question is whether we get further code purples to slow the pace, because obviously even more so than safety car in other categories of racing, when you get a long period under code purple, it really does slow the pace of the race. So Ben Schneider ahead of Paul Dalla in Mercedes and BMW first and second now, with a half a minute. Now they're up to racing speeds. It makes more sense to look at the gap between them. Those two, the only two on the lead lap, and indeed the next car up is 2 laps behind, René Munich in the allinkel.com Mercedes number 38. And in terms of lap times, we'll see once they get properly up to speed, because of course, because of the way the code purple stops, it doesn't stop as across the start-finish line, it stops all the way around the circuit at the same time. We'll work out whether or not Paul Dalla times are a match for those of Bernd Schneider or not. But Schneider's last lap time, 2 minutes 9, which is considerably slower. That's still a purple affected lap time. And as I say, Dalla is just 29 seconds behind. Well, there's a big gap behind the first two. There's a battle going on for 3rd and 4th places as well between Mercedes and Porsche, rather than Mercedes and BMW, because the number 4 Porsche of the Fach Autotech team is Sebastian Ash, just 20 seconds behind René Munich in the Mercedes. And again, it'll be interesting to see whether or not Ash can lap more quickly than the Mercedes team leader in that car. And I would guess that Sebastian Ash may well be able to go more quickly. So Mercedes leads the race from BMW. Mercedes in third place, Porsche in fourth place. In fifth place is an Aston Martin, the one remaining Aston Martin, as John was just saying, and that is number 17, Richard Lyons, who is a further 2 minutes, nearly a lap behind Sebastian Ash. We'll see whether Richard Lyons is able to close the gap in the Aston Martin, which is currently running in fifth place.
Rather annoyingly, we have another code 60. Yellows breed yellows, do purples breed purples? Well, apparently so. I was just about to say the battle that is building up was for 8th position between Rick Albrecht and Matt Griffin, and that is down to a couple of seconds. And now, all of a sudden, we've got another full course caution.
Number 144, John, it is who's caused it, which is one of the GC automobile BMW lookalikes.
Third in class in SP2, and it's Eric Vassiliere. He's at turn number 9, facing the wrong direction, which is not a good thing. That is just coming on to the fast straight. That middle diagonal straight. In the darkness, I really have got to trace the lap around to find out where the guys are, and he's just in that kink. Out goes the TT again. The car's sitting with its lights on, as we can now see. Once again, great pick-up by the guys, and there's a tow truck on its way to him, but that car is facing in the wrong direction and causing the fastest part of the circuit, obviously one of the fastest parts of the circuit, some consternation. This is rather annoying, as into the pit lane has come the Mercedes-Benz of the 11 team. Johannes Siegler brought that car in. And it's the Car Collection Motorsport German-entered team with an all-German driver lineup, and just look how difficult it is to get the drivers into those cars. It looks easy because you've got the big wide open gull-wing door, but with the door bars and the roof bars, that is not the work of a moment. Nick Damon is in the pit lane, and we'll go down to him in just a moment's time as the torque wrenches are used on the centre lock wheel nuts for that car. Let's head down to Nick Damon in the pit lane, where we've got one or two more takers this time, even though it's not been so long since the last one, Nick.
No, I think everyone perhaps has decided, perhaps this whole pitting under code purple works, because from 10th place, the number 27 Z4 trundled down and just took fuel. It's not even bothering with a driver change. Obviously, we've got the big 11 SLS you can see in front of us, one of the Kirchhoff cars, the Car Collection Motorsport car. Then they've got the 95, there's a couple of Porsches. That red 77 BMW, which was had the misfire, has gone straight into the garage. So I'm not sure if you go straight to the garage, whether you get penalised when you come out as well, because that would be a bit unfortunate. You're getting 0.625 seconds when you're trying to repair the car. The 66 Porsche from 14th.
It's only for the top 5, Nick, remember.
Oh, good point. Thank you very much. I completely forgot that.
Maximum of 2.5 minutes.
Hence the reason that all the cars in here are not in the top 5. They just come in anyway. They just go, this is a great idea to come in. So, yeah, so we've got a lot of cars spinning down. And one thing I will say is quite useful is it's the first time I've actually been able to see the number things working, because I can actually see them as they go past. So I can say, oh, he's in 10th, he's in 14th, he's in 26th. And this is the Ferrari. Ferrari's in 7th, that's car 5. So the leading spirit of the race, Ferrari, in 7th, is obviously completely free to do this. This is not the top 5, and he's just literally doing a drive-through and picking up some fuel. So looks like people have now had to sit down, had a chance to crunch the numbers from people who've come in during the Code 60 and see what's the best thing to do. And obviously a splash and dash or a fill up and go is certainly worthwhile if you're not in top 5.
Yes, what might be interesting to observe is whether or not the number 1 car makes a pit stop. Even though it's just been in, it may choose to take that penalty, because if that's allowed, and say the precedent has been set already by the allinkle.com Mercedes, then they could bring that one in, serve its 2 minutes and 18 seconds whilst we've got this purple period, and then it could go on its way again. I'm just looking for whereabouts it is on the circuit at the moment. It's actually still in the first sector, having only just gone through. Yes, Nick?
To my mind, what the Al Inkle have done that's clever is actually combine the penalty with a pit stop. So their grand total was 5.5, 6 minutes, which is way over the penalty of 2.5 minutes, because obviously, whatever, there's about 4 minutes, isn't it, at 0.625 a second. If you just come in and serve your penalty and do a 3-minute stop, you've then re-incurred another 2.5 minutes again. So it might be that because Al Inkle wanted to do, the 38 car wanted to do a stop at the same time, that if they get away with this and Graventic haven't crossed the I's and dotted the T's, then they might be able to have pulled a clever one. But if you just come in anyway and you aren't going to do a long enough pit stop to start getting free time after you've gone over the 2.5 minute maximum, it makes no sense.
You're right, and as I say, the purpose of this regulation is not to provide loopholes for people to be able to jump through. It's to make things more fair, and as I say, I think the trouble with any regulation is that it's only as good as the people who can try and get themselves around
it. The engineers are always cleverer, though, aren't they? This is the problem the FIA have. They're always trying to catch up the whole time. Engineers are always cleverer. And then they've had a couple of hours to work it out now. They're going, yes, now we know, Mr. Graventic. And what will happen, I'm sure, is that Gary and the team will go, well, oh, look, here's a bulletin saying you can't do that.
Exactly right. No, I wouldn't blame them at all if we see that's what happened. But for the moment, at least, we are back into the 4th code purple of the race. Didn't actually see, John, whether or not there was any barrier repair that needed to be done there, because I think there isn't very much barrier. Not quite sure how well my binoculars are going to be able to peer through the darkness. I can see one of the surface vehicles there.
Got to stop for the Ram Racing car, Paul. That's obviously they're running a bit lower out the top 5. They're doing a full stop, including a driver change. So Matt Griffin's got out. We were told in advance that Jan Magnussen would be going in last. So he'll be his first run in this lovely silver car, which, in fairness, after over 4 hours of running, is no longer reflecting anything. It's just grubby. It looks like kind of like a you know when you've cooked chops on foil.
Yes,
it looks like that.
Yes.
I still think it looks stunning under the lights there.
No, it's great, but it is a bit choppy.
To be fair to it, you're right to say, Nick, it's running outside the top 5, but still running well in the top 10. It's the second of the Ferraris. If there were a class of Ferraris, it would be the second in there, because the number 5 Spirit of the Race car, which now has Alexander Talkanitsa Jr. At the wheel, and Matt Griffin then heading off down the pit lane to get some fuel, and except it's not Matt Griffin anymore, is it? Because he's just got out of the car.
Correct. It's Jan Magnussen. It's Mags.
Excellent. So
he was only a couple of seconds behind Albrecht, and he must have got past him because he scored ahead of him.
Yeah.
Although he lose that, of course, immediately that he's come into the pit lane.
Yes.
So he only had half a lap of green, and he managed to close to 2 seconds.
And he'll probably also lose 9th place as well, because Sebastian Krubele in the Porsche number 9 is that close behind him as well.
So the Code 60 continues, and this is a little bit becoming a little bit of a worry now, but I can see some flashing lights moving away from the area that we had the issue earlier, and the car is on the back of the flatbed. I can definitely see that because I can see the blue marker lights on the back of the car. Let's head down to Thrapston's fastest Ferrari driver. That would be Matt Griffin.
John again says you're Thrapston's fastest driver. Yesterday he was narrowing it down to the road you lived in. I'm not quite sure what that was. For those who don't know, John Hindhaugh lives in the same village as Matt Griffin, who drives the number 30 for Ram Racing. And how are Ram feeling? 8th at the moment when you came in. Is that a good position to springboard and attack, or are you slightly disappointed?
No, I mean we're coming forward. We seem to be losing some time in the refueling, and I don't know if 2 times we've picked a slow refueling pump or something. The car feels great. Traffic like always a bit of an issue, but we're moving forward, and when we're running and when it's not code 60, we're moving forward all the time. It's just we've either been unlucky or we have a small fueling issue that's taken longer than it should. Like I said, the car feels good. There's a lot of the race yet to run, and Johnny, Anne and myself are going to push pretty hard for the rest, maximum attack, I think.
How frustrating is it when you are on a comeback mission to lose 40 minutes of running through code 60?
It's frustrating, to be honest, because, you know, you want to push, and particularly when our car feels as good as it does, and obviously you're hampered to 60 miles an hour. And it's really boring too, to be honest with you, sitting in the car just driving around at 60. So no driver wants it, but you know it is a safety thing. They have to fix the barrier, so I understand why they have to do it. It makes the restarts pretty crazy, even maybe not as crazy as if they use a safety car, but still pretty crazy.
Thanks, Matt. The good news for Jan is it's gone back to green. You can continue to fight back. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, perfect timing. The BMW in the pit lane on the back of the flatbed, and we are racing again. And straight away, Jan Magnussen gets on the right-hand pedal. 8th position in the race for that car, having dropped down from, 6th, I think, when he came into the pit lane.
The other thing that it would be good to look out for is the battle for 3rd place, John. René Munich just going through across the start-finish line, which is one area that I can see, and he's being followed just 4 seconds adrift by Sebastian Ash. That is a gap that has come down during the code 60, which goes to answer the question that one of the correspondents had about how times do vary, because some kilometres an hour are quicker than other kilometres an hour, it would seem.
Oh, look at Magnussen. Look at Magnussen. He's been sitting waiting to go. He gets in, first lap out, everyone's on cold tyres, scything through the traffic. He raced here in European Touring Car days a few years ago, didn't have a brilliant race. I think we decided he started 18th and finished 12th in one race and didn't get the second race started. Oh, the 38 team and manager has been asked to report to the race director. This is the 3rd place car. Nick, I think... what have you done?
I think they may possibly have been listening to Paul, not me, Paul. I didn't do nothing, Mr. Huff and his dad are not going to come after me. It was all Paul.
You don't want to get on the wrong side of Gary Robertshaw. I've seen him riled, I tell you.
An Arthur story that Joe Bradley told a couple of weekends ago, I certainly don't.
No, there you go.
A quick one, the 144.
You don't want to cross swords with Robertshaw, mate.
Stop it. The 144 GC car, Fred Parsons, that caused the last code 60, managed to have both its front and rear right-hand side suspension deranged, and it has joined the other 2 GC cars in early retirement. I can only think, this is about the 3rd, they've been here every year, and I don't think they've ever managed to get much further than this, so, you know, they're very plucky. But I can't help thinking they should try perhaps a different designer car, do you think?
Okay. The 86 car's had a quick spin at turn 7 and has rejoined. Yes, it has. Back on the circuit. So Gary Robertshaw at the moment will be trudging up to the race director to find out what the issue is with the 38 car, which sits just 2 seconds now ahead. So that's the 38 car, the white car with the white Mercedes-Benz with the black down the sides, which is being closed in on by the red and white Porsche of Sebastian Ash, number 4, on board with the Viper as it goes across the line. Look at the traffic ahead of the number 12 car with Leon Rinchbik at the wheel of that. And he's Dragged past all of them, bar the 96 Porsche, which is Brett Nile at the wheel of that, and he couldn't get through down the inside of turn number 1.
The other thing that we need to look out for, Paul Dalla Lana at the wheel of the number 76 BMW is getting close to the end of his stint. So Bernd Schneider, well, I won't say that the dice have rolled in his favour, but he is in an artificially good position at the moment in the number 1 Mercedes, and he is going to have to pay the penalty of that when he comes in for a pit stop eventually. But it's not going to be him making the pit stop, it's going to be number 76 BMW making the pit stop next, and that will mean that Bernd Schneider has a lap of an advantage on the rest of the field. And I suspect they'll be waiting on the outcome of the meeting between the number 38 team manager and the race director before they decide what they're going to do. Meanwhile, in the pits, we've got the Aston Martin making a driver change, tyres going on to that car as well. One of the reasons that pit stops are that much quicker is that you can have all 4 wheel or 2 of the wheels changed at the same time, which makes them. So Aston Martin then driver still being changed, or tyres still being changed.
And the reason for that stop, we hear from Nick Damon, was?
It had a puncture. I mean, it actually came, they were racing for it. It came in, it seemed okay, but they just pulled one of the tyres off. There's a puncture, and I'm afraid now they are putting the safety blocks underneath the air jack, so it's going to stay up for a while. So as Jürgen shows you the front left of the car, doesn't seem to have extensive damage. It hadn't completely delaminated. It had done that thing where it's got left with the 2 sidewalls. It is filthy, though, from the various debris dust. But this is the only Aston Martin left, of course, after the accident damage that befell the number 7. And it's being held now on a safety. What are they doing? He's coming around the front now. And it's going underneath the car with a Allen key. I'm disappointed by the lack of tie wraps and duct tape so far. They appear to be trying to fix this properly, which really isn't on. Another safety chop goes under. And they carry on working now. Let's see what it is. Looks like probably that the car's dragged, but it lost that front left, and it's probably broken off or has slightly damaged one of the underside parts of the car, be a plate of some sort. So they're trying to make that to get the ride weight back on and the aero back, and they're having a look. And of course, this is dropping them down from 6th. Certainly a position which was stronger than I thought they'd have with a 17 car. All the way, the chocks go. Let's just move Jürgen because you don't want to get run over. And they're going to come down and they'll drop and go. And a slightly long stop, but of course it was under the normal conditions. I'm assuming he's going to make a sharp right for fuel. And indeed hang on. Now, he's not taking on fuel, so that was unscheduled, boys. That was caused by the puncture, even though the guys were waiting in for quite a long time. So that was an unscheduled stop.
So we've got just over 19 hours still to go. And the Renault Munich has lost that position to Sebastian Ash, and Sebastian nips 1.4 seconds further ahead.
Yes, to be fair on Renault Munich, I don't think he would class himself in quite the same category of racing driver as Sebastian Ash, who has been really fairly mighty in that Porsche throughout the build-up to the race as well as the race thus far. So with coming up now to 5 hours, not far off 5 hours of the race completed, we have a Mercedes SMS AMG leading a BMW Z4, leading a Porsche 911 GT3, 997 GT3. So I think we can go down now to Nick Damon in the pits. Nick.
Yes, and I'm with Richard Lyons, who's just come in with the 17 car. Richard, obviously not a scheduled stop. What happened?
Actually, I'm not really sure. We just got a puncture on the restart, come down the front straight. the front tire just blew out. So it was about the worst place it can happen, because they had to do a full lap with the tire off the rim. But, you know, up until that point, we had really good pace. I think, you know, we were comparable to the leaders. We were just crossing our fingers that we wouldn't have any bad luck. But, you know, if this is as bad as it gets, we might be okay. So we'll push on.
Do you think the puncture was due to debris? We've had a number of code 60s sort of back-to-back. Is the track getting dirty now?
Well, for sure it hasn't helped, but, you know, I think they're doing a good job whenever they are cleaning the track. But, you know, you can't really see much out there, and if there is a bit of debris, you're most likely going to go over. And the other thing is the tire temperatures and pressures, they go down very low. So you're more susceptible to, you know, a puncture or something like that. So maybe that's what happened.
Is this a particularly difficult track in the dark? Obviously, the track is very compact, so cars are coming forward and going back within a small space. Is it easy to pick out where everyone is the whole time?
You know, for us coming behind the faster cars, I think it's a much easier job than the guys in front. You know, I have to say the guys in the slower cars are doing a terrific job. But, you know, we do trip over each other here and there. It's just the way it's going to be. But I have to say it's pretty damn good, yeah.
Richard, hope that's all the bad luck you get. Thanks for talking to us.
Good to see Richard in endurance racing. Always thought he had the right temperament for it, if I'm honest. So watching the Bernd Schneider's just doing a cracking job, straight down to the 202 margin. There is Richard's car, the number 17, currently with Darrell O'Young, the Hong Kong driver, at the wheel of it. Just got in 3 minutes ago, and you think he's going quickly, and then all of a sudden a Mercedes-Benz cruises up behind, 3 wide into turn 10, and there's a touch. Oh, that's definitely not sensible stuff, and that's Khaled El Khabazi. As they were coming into the braking area at turn 10, the uphill.
Isn't that
right-hander?
René Munich as well with him.
I think that might be the 38 car as well. Yeah, you're right. Well, that was not sensible driving by anybody concerned. The 17 car, Darrell O'Young, that's the Aston Martin there, comes up on the inside of the...
No, it's the Ginetta.
It's the Ginetta, actually. It's the 28
yeah.
Ginetta. And down the inside, Khaled El Khabazi chancing his arm, and that's a cut twice. I think we've seen him do that. He got away without damage to the car before. Will he have done it this time? There's someone touring around the circuit with suspension damage. I think that's the Ginetta. As it heads back towards us. But the 28 was in a good position as well. Was that not leading the AM classes? Certainly was a little while ago. Yeah, that's the Ginetta, and that's got damage. Now in 6th in class after the issues of the code 60, Anders Fjord back at the wheel of that, excuse me, not at all.
Adam Sharp.
It's Adam Sharp at the wheel of that car. Yes, I was one place off because it's still got 20 on the side. Of course, it's dropped down to the position. Adam Sharp at the 6th position. Now, Adam will not be happy with that. He was an innocent bystander and completely attacked at turn 10. You could almost see that happening, couldn't you? Darrell O'Young backed off, went down the inside, and when he thought it was going to be okay, started to move, and El Khabazi comes from a long way back.
But I think this is part of the problem of nighttime driving, because
it's a skill.
You need to know where the edges of the track are, and you need to know where the other drivers are and what they're going to be doing. And it's not by any means saying it's easy, but we were talking yesterday during night practice, what was the point in going out during night practice? But you can never get enough practice of driving at night time, particularly when the circuit is as full as it is at the moment. And looking like with still very few retirements, it's going to keep being as busy as it is.
So the Ginetta has made it back into the pit lane under the driving talent of Adam Sharp, and he's done very well actually, Paul, because I think he's got a broken rear suspension.
And damage you can see even from this side at the rear.
Let's nip down to Nick Damon, who's there.
Yeah, he's got a punctured rear right, but also the rear right suspension is completely broken as well. The car wasn't so much crabbing as basically just kind of meandering down the pit lane. As the man attaches the air gun, he can actually move the disc about 6 inches either way in a forward and black plane, and also there's damage to the rear of the car as well. It has been a very definite, well, we've seen it. Basically, it was an attack from behind with a lethal weapon called Mercedes SLS. And as bad luck strikes the pits, and there's about to be another accident. His number 9 car was nearly dolly-jacked into the back of the 28. There's only a careful shove while the 28 mechanics stopped that happening, but and you can see actually the 28 had a bit of a coming together on the left-hand side as well. It has been an aggressive race out there. Most cars now are showing a few scars and a few bits of damage from coming together, bumps and boring, but it's obviously nothing as bad as that lethal attack by the number 2 car. And obviously we'll try and have a word with Adam, who's driving, though I think he's going to pretty much say I was doing nothing and then I got hit from behind.
I think you're going to have to be in 2 places at once, Nick, because we've also got the second place car in the pits at the moment. Paul Dalla Lana has come in number 76, the BMW. He's being held at the penalty box at the moment, and that, I suspect, is to compensate for the advantage that he gained when he pitted under purple earlier in the race. But he will be coming down to take what will be a regular pit stop for that car, having now completed 121 laps, which means that on that stint he has done 16, 8, 30, 27 laps. So a long stint, and for Paul Dalla Lana it has been something like an hour and something that he was out at the wheel of the car. And Bernd Schneider goes onto the lead, having lapped the field now in the Black Falcon Mercedes number 1.
Khalid El Khabazi continues seemingly untroubled by that contact. That number 2 Mercedes-Benz at the moment sitting in 5th position, although 3 laps off the lead, and 2 laps actually when he comes round at the end of this one, is leading a charmed life at the moment. And think back to the old days of Mercedes-Benz, of Audis rather, being able to take the hits, Paul.
Yeah, Paul Dalla Lana, after 2 minutes and 20 seconds, moving forward to take his proper pit stop. And that means that he will be out of the car, and new tyres going onto the BMW Z4. And we can go down to Nick Damon in the pits. Nick.
I'm with Adam Sharp from the 28 Ginetta. I'm going to ask you a question, but I think I know the answer. Any idea what happened?
Yeah, the Black Falcon. You know, I even left him a car's width, but just came down the inside like a bat out of hell and smacked the passenger side rear of our car, right at the rear of the car. So, you know, gave him as much room as possible. Appreciate there's a pro class as well, but, you know, you shouldn't be diving down the inside to an apex like that. When you've got 2 GT3 cars, just go through, you know, on the straights or whatever. But a bit of a silly move, it's costed a lot of time, and it's really not what we wanted out there.
No, it's very, very bad luck. Now, it's interesting, actually, because that happened on the right-hand side of the car. The left-hand side of the car is showing a bit of war wounds as well. Is it quite an aggressive race out there? Is there a lot of touching and banging?
Yeah, that was previous in a race when one of the other drivers was in the car. It's so busy out there. You know, I've been fortunate enough to race lots of 24 hours at Bathurst and Nürburgring and Le Mans and all sorts of places, but you know, the speed difference here and the power difference and the aggressiveness obviously of the quick guys that want to go and win the race, and it's become, you know, it looks like a sprint out there with those guys at the front. So yeah, it's fairly busy.
Now, the damage looks repairable, so the car should be out again, yeah?
Yeah, I actually thought it was worse than what it looks like. Obviously, I drove it back. I think there is a bit more damage than what they could see from the outside, because it was just a big old lunge and a big hit as I turned in for the apex. So,
Right, Adam. I hope you get out again. Thanks a lot.
So that's Adam Sharp then, and that Ginetta will be losing places whilst it's in the pit. It's been in the pits thus far for some very nearly 6 minutes. And it also lost a further 2 minutes with Adam Sharp having brought it back to the pit. It was good work from Adam, because with a damaged car, puncture and broken suspension, it wasn't necessarily going to be that easy to bring it back, but Adam did bring it back, and he's he not wasted, but took an extra 3 minutes to bring the car back to the pits following that contact. To be fair to Al-Khabazi, although I do sympathise with Adam Sharp, he himself took a hit, or a touch at least, from the car that he was passing. So he went past the car, got touched himself, and I think it was that launched him.
That was Daryl O'Young.
It was Daryl O'Young, wasn't it? That's right. And it was that launched him into the Ginetta. So it was Aston, Mercedes and Ginetta all getting too close together, and I mean, as you said, John, you saw it building up to being about to happen. But when you get three cars trying to go through what is a fairly it's not quite a hairpin, but it's certainly more than a 90-degree corner, then it's going to be fairly difficult to cover. So we've had another hour of the race gone by without us really kind of noting it or saying anything special about it. 5 hours have now passed. In fact, 5 hours and 7 minutes have now passed, which means there's less than 19 hours remain. And Bernd Schneider continuing to lead now by more than a lap. From in second place, the number 4 Fachauto Tech Porsche, which currently has Sebastian Asch behind the wheel. And then in third place is René Munich in the number 38 Mercedes.
I am impressed at the pace at the head of the field. Now, these are GT3 cars, and we've said this year on year, every time we come back. You know, originally GT3 cars weren't built for 24 hours racing, and we had problems with some of the purpose-built GT1 cars trying to go long distances, when the very few purpose-built GT1 cars in the GT1 World Championship, but when they were trying to do the Spa 24 hours, it didn't work. And it's amazing how the reliability of the cars has improved over just the 3 years that we've been here, Paul.
Yes, I mean, 5 hours into a 24-hour race is a bit early to talk about reliability, but I know exactly what you're saying. Certainly the expectations are high of reliability, and the lap times are certainly most impressive. I mean, we were talking earlier about what the expected average lap times are going to be, and I think they're certainly sub 2 minutes and 3 seconds. The last one from Bernd Schneider there is 2 minutes 1.184. I mean, Bernd is exceptional. And as long as he is in the car, then inevitably the car is faster than average. But certainly comparing that to Sebastian Asch, who we've been saying is no slouch, he on his last lap of 2 minutes 05, and compare that to René Munich at 2 minutes 07. So that's 6 seconds. And at that kind of pace, certainly Bernd Schneider, very much the class of the field. Khaled Al-Khabazi not wasting his time either.
And Talcanita Jr. as well, in fairness. The SP2 leaders in the pits here, this is the Viper. It's not been an untroubled run for them. Nick Damons was watching what he described to me in my headphones as a leisurely stop.
Well, they're still doing it, John. They've come in. The first thing they did was put the big fan at the front to keep the air running through the 8.3-litre V10 engine. They've also kind of had a good old look with the torches. Had a good look at the torches at the brakes and everything else. They've had a good old look around, a bit of a clean-up. They're pushing it. Now, I think this is going to get reversed into the garage. So I think we're about to lose well, not lose, or temporarily lose our leader of SP2 while they do some repairs.
So as the SP2 leader is in the garage now, who is in second place? Well, I can tell you, 59 seconds behind, and in fact now having gone through to retake the lead, is the number 123 Nissan. This is the RJN Nissan Academy winners car, headed up by the original GT Academy winner Lucas Ordóñez. At the moment, it's Florian Strauss at the wheel of that car. The 126 cars had one or two issues, in fairness, including an alternator problem. Spinning Porsche. This is the number 50. Oh, what a shame. Out there in the darkness with no side lights on for that car. This is the second of the Speed Lover Belgian Porsche 997 Cup cars. It's not a great place to be stopped on the outside of turn 1, but fortunately it has refired and rejoins the fray, and it was Philippe Richard who was at the wheel. But there is the story in this hour, another of the class leaders in the pit lane. This is the SP2 leader and has lost its lead now. And Nick Damon has been speaking Dutch to the mechanics down there and says...
It's got a brake problem, which they're trying to resolve with a pad change, which is too early for routine ones. Also, more worryingly, if Jürgen wants to come and have a look at this bit here, on the ground here was a large amount of oil, which they weren't expecting to fall out of the car. So there's been a man with a torch desperately looking around the cam covers, trying to work out what's going on. But at the moment, I'm afraid the SP2 leader, or ex-leader, I think is going to be there for a while, which does mean that the Nissan Academy 1-2-3 has taken the lead.
Yes, absolutely. You know, can you have a sachet up to the 38 pit and get on the pit wall and see what's happening there? Because they're still waiting for Gary Robertshaw to go down. That spin, by the way, by the 50 car, Philippe Richard, was completely on his own, toute seul, no assistance by anybody. So that was a bit of an odd one.
Just as an indication of the impact that the purple flag had, the code 60 periods had. We had 29 laps completed in the first hour of this race. That was followed in the second hour by 26 laps, 24 laps in the third hour. In the fifth hour, which was when we had that long code 60, only 16 laps were completed. So, as I say, just an indication of how the pace can be affected. But hopefully, as the race continues and the teams and drivers get a little bit more used to where they are, because most of the time the code 60s have been caused by incidents and drivers not taking sufficient care, having accidents and then subsequent barriers needing repairing. If drivers can sort themselves out, then we can run through without having to have code 60, and we can then have a bit of a pattern forming, because at the moment the pattern very much in favour of Bernd Schneider, although Sebastian Ash, we perhaps criticised him a moment ago by saying that he was off the pace, but on that last lap, only a little over a second slower than Schneider, as Schneider rumbles past the commentary position here, vibrates the floor as he does so, and heads on his way. And interestingly, Khaled Al-Kubaisi in the number 2 car, who goes through just now, is now exactly 3 laps behind in 4th place. And the point of interest, of course, with Khaled Al-Kubaisi, I think he is the first driver to have done stints in both of the cars in which he's nominated. There are several drivers who are nominated in 2 different cars, but Khaled Al-Kubaisi then, having already driven in the car that leads the race, is currently having a stint in the number 2 car, and as I say, people like Claudia Hurtgen, who we're expecting to see out in the number 76 later on, she hasn't had her chance at driving 2 cars yet, but Khaled himself has. So former winner of the race, indeed winner of last year here at Dubai. Last lap in 2 minutes 4.923 seconds.
Jim Rowland back in the booth. And missed quite a bit of action.
Yeah.
I know you were listening where you were. Jan Magnussen is the man on the move at the moment in 8th position in that silver chrome number 30.
Next time I'll eat faster.
Magnussen chasing down again Rick Albrecht. Mark Griffin was just behind, just in front of him when he came into the pit lane, wasn't he? Albrecht due a pit stop in the number 21 at the moment. In a moment,
I think
the racing Corvette.
I think probably John Jan will get past Albrecht before the pit stop, because such is Jan Magnussen's pace in the Ferrari. I think he'll probably get past first.
Yeah, he's taken 5 seconds out of him last lap around. The issue is, of course, in Nicky Pastorelli in that 21 car, they've got a very good driver. The rest of the drivers, with due respect to them, are not of Pastorelli's pace. Dane Cameron now behind the wheel of the 76 car, and he's closing in at a rate of knots on the 5th position, number 5. Let's go down to the Nissan area of pit lane. RGN GT Academy. The RGN is Robert Neville Motorsport, and Bob Neville is ready to speak with Nick Damon.
Bob, it's sort of a tale of two cars, isn't it? The 1, 2, 3 just taken the lead of class for the problems of the 12, but the other machines had a catalogue of issues.
Well, it wasn't a catalogue, it just had one delay, which was quite a serious delay with an electrical problem. Took a while to trace it, like, you know, those problems often are. So, and then there was the degree of luck where we did the work under green, and the minute we went out, it was code 60 for half an hour, so it's well down, but I think it can come back a bit yet.
Well, the main Academy car, that's going really well. Are all the young men performing to expectations?
Yeah, all this year's Academy winners, plus Lucas, so far doing brilliantly.
I mean, we've seen in certainly the front of the race, it's been very aggressive, hasn't it? I mean, what are the instructions you give these guys as they go out?
Well, the instructions are to take as much time as they need to not get involved with other traffic, whether they're overtaking or whether they're being overtaken. You know, I just say to them very clearly, I don't mind losing a second or two here and there. It means nothing compared with a touch and then half an hour in the box.
But you've obviously got 4 very competitive men and Lucas who's mentoring. I mean, how do you stop them just looking for the extra half seconds so they can say, I was the fastest?
No, you can't. You can't. But you can try.
Well, thanks very much.
Might be reasonable to say that the father of the GT Academy is Bob Neville. The mother, I think, is certainly Liz Neville, Bob's wife, who have done so much to mentor all of the young boys down the years from Lucas Ordonez onwards. Stuart Hall's just put the fastest lap in for the number 88 Ferrari in 12th position. 2:04.9 is that car's fastest lap of the race. And that is too fast. That will be one of their joker laps, and it's not fast enough, is it, with just barely a tenth of a second. Half a tenth of a second, you've kind of wasted one of your 10 precious joker laps. Bernd Schneider then consolidates the lead at the head of the field, another 2:01.7. Meantime, that battle for 5th position, Dane Cameron and Tokanita Jr. Well, that's gone out a little bit, as Dane Cameron had a very slow lap there, a 2:07. Some big gaggle of traffic, I would think, there, but Jan Magnussen is still gaining on Rick Albrecht. This is the 21, the black V8 racing Corvette, and the silver chrome 30 Ferrari, and they are battling for 7th and 8th position overall. Also Darrell O'Young coming up on the back of Adrian Amschutz. This is for 10th and 11th position, And there's just a second between, though. In fact, there's not even that now. There's half a second as they've gone underneath me there. There is the 126 Nissan that had the alternator issue earlier on, which has dropped it out of contention. They were first and second in class. What seems like a moment or two ago. James Moffat, the son of Alan Moffat, and an Aussie touring car, Fiat touring car star in his own right, driving it at the moment. It's an interesting chat, I thought, with Darren Cox earlier on, confirming that they are pushing ahead with the LMP1 programme.
The GTD programme.
GTD programme that was almost ready for Daytona, he revealed exclusively here on RadioLeMans.com. A car that would have been very fast on the banking, but expects to see that sooner rather than later. Happy birthday, by the way, to Mark Howson of dailysportscar.com. I've got to work out which way the time zone's going. It's either about to happen tomorrow or it's happened already, and I can never work out which way around it is. So, Mark, if I'm early, I apologise. But happy birthday up there anyway.
Better to be early than late.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Yep.
Happy birthday for your birthday, Mark.
That's right.
Red Camel 121 out there in the darkness at the moment. Yes, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just looking down at trying to keep tabs on everything that's going on, because one of the pieces of information that gets pushed through to me is the use of joker laps, because you mentioning there that Stuart Hall was going to have to dig into his top pocket to pull out one of his jokers to get through that last lap of 2 minutes 04, or not the last lap of 2 minutes 04, but the one before that he did of 2 minutes 04.
0.964. I mean, that is a waste of a joker, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What the timekeepers do is actually to, in effect, delete that lap, so that if he does it again, you'll see it again as a best lap. So what they'll do is they'll put his best lap back to the one before. But when they do that, then I get a little message through. Last time I looked, that car, the Dragon Speed car, the 88 Dragon Speed car, hadn't used any jokers at all, so it has, I won't say he's got them to spare, but it has got them, whereas the number 19 GDL Racing Mercedes, last time I looked, had already used 3 of it, so you have to be a little bit careful, and it tends to be the earlier stages in the race when you do use up the jokers.
That battle between Jan Magnussen and Rick Albrecht has gone the way of the Dane. He's gone through into 7th position and immediately puts 2 seconds on the number 21 on the Corvette.
See what happens when you have a chrome car?
Yeah. Whoosh.
Yep.
Dane Cameron has pulled back to 8 seconds now behind Talgadita Jr. in the number 5 Ferrari and the 76 BMW. That's the battle for 5th.
I'm very interested to see how Dane does during the 24 hours. I think this is his first stint, is it not, Paul?
Yes, it is, Jim, that's right.
And he, much like Connor DeFilby, is another young up-and-coming American who cut his teeth on the Star Mazda series and is really this is a good opportunity for him to branch out, as he has pretty much been tied to Mazda most of his career, and here he's getting a chance to run a frontline BMW. So this is an awesome opportunity for him, and so far he hasn't put a foot wrong.
And I reckon, Jim, that he is warming up the seat, if that's not an inappropriate way to put it, for Claudia Hurtgen, because I think we're going to see Claudia in the car next. She is the only one of the driving lineup that hasn't yet been in the car, so unless Dirk Werner does another stint before Claudia gets in, then we'll expect to see Claudia getting into that car next. What's interesting is how much time that car lost, because it was in a very strong second place and threatening to take the lead at the end of the last Code Purple. But when the car came in for its last pit stop, it took its compensation penalty, use both words, for pitting earlier on under the purple. So you can tick that one off. It's done its penalty. The one you need to add, Jim, is the number 1 car. That is going to have to take a penalty. And by my reckoning, it's going to have to take a penalty of 1 minute and 18 seconds. Sorry, 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Wow.
So more than a lap. So the fact that that number 1 car has a lead of a lap is not so significant, because it's going to have to take away that lap when it comes in for either its next pit stop or some pit stop at some point in the future, and that will pull it back again. So this is but it did gain a huge advantage from doing its pit stop under purple. So, you know, it's, as ever, a clever rule, and it seems to work.
Yeah. So he did his stop under the 3rd.
Yes. Yeah, the 3rd.
60.
Sorry, no, it was the 2nd code 60, which was the very long one, when the car was running out of fuel.
Darrell O'Young has taken 10th position now and pulls 2 seconds ahead of Adrian Anschultz in that battle in the A6 Pro category, just on the outside skirts of the top 10. So Aston Martin goes ahead of the number 20, as we thought it would.
Another battle we could look out for on the track, John, is Alexander... No, it's not. Sorry, I've misread that one. We've got Alexander Talkanitsa ahead of Dane Cameron at the moment. But I did think for a minute that we might be seeing Talkanitsa closing in on Al-Kubaisi. But Al-Kubaisi 3 laps behind the race leader, and Talkanitsa is around about half a minute or so behind.
So the darkness in full effect now. Teams still battling to get their cars in the race, including GC Automotive down there in the pit lane. It has not been their week as far as the running, but they are displaying the endurance attitude of let's fix it and let's get it out. I would say sometimes you should set it alight, but they did that earlier on in the week. I know that sounds unkind, but sometimes cars just really don't want to play.
I was going to say, they don't want to participate.
It's just... Nick Damon is down in that pit, Nick.
It's amazing. They have got... Obviously, they've had 3 cars, which have all had a succession of issues, and they are now cobbling together one good one. And they are using as a basis the 144 that caught fire yesterday. So, you know, the best car is the one that's fire damaged. But they are giving it a go. They've taken bits off the red car, I think it's the 43. The front end is going on the 42. There's a man using a really great grindy thing, and there's sparks coming off. Some top-level basic engineering going on here. This is like mechanicking in the 60s, not bothering the computers and sensors. Let's just get a big hammer out. Let's hack something off. Let's saw down a bit of metal, and let's cobble together a car out of bits we found in the barn.
All right, then.
You're painting a smashing picture there, Nick Damon, down in the pit lane. We're watching Alex Talkanitsa Jr., who has got Dane Cameron 11 and a half seconds behind him. That is fluctuating in traffic. Dane, perhaps reasonably, not quite as confident through traffic as some of the more experienced endurance hands.
Yeah, he lost 6 seconds over the last 3 laps, so...
Yeah, but he was right there, and then he dropped back, and then he pulled 3 seconds back, and then he lost a couple of... I think he's just being clever. Oh, yeah, yes, Nick is right. The angle grinder is out, and there's a fair amount of rudimentary engineering going on the 144 car. See what I mean about that looking like a Group B rally car?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Particularly with those struts at the back end.
Yep, exactly. You'd be surprised what those grinder sparks will do to the face of a smartphone. Personal experience. Sorry.
You shouldn't do things like that when other things are going on. Anyway, Khalid Al-Kubaisi doing a good job in 4th place at the moment, the number 2 Black Falcon Mercedes. Probably going to be due for a pit stop within the next 10 minutes or so by my counting. And when he does, so we'll also be seeing pit stops from both the car, in fact, both of two of the three cars that are ahead of him, René Hünig in the number 38, and also Sebastian Asch in the number 4, are going to be due their pit stops as well. And for my money, I was just thinking within the next half an hour we should get pit stops from all of from 3 of the top 4. I think Bernd Schneider's probably got fuel enough to take him through. Actually, well, Bernd's getting towards the end of his stint as well. He's only running at about half an hour's worth, maybe 20 minutes worth. So a lot of pit stops are going to be coming up fairly shortly with, as I say, Al Kubaisi, I reckon, in the number 2, going to be the first one. But the battle for second place is going to be on between Asch and Munich. What was interesting, Jim, and I don't think you were here, or you might have been listening to it, we heard from...
I couldn't hear very well where in the catering area.
Yeah, we heard from one of the drivers we were speaking to, and I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Adam Sharp, who was saying that no, it wasn't. It was Matt Griffin, wasn't it? Who was saying that the refueling nozzles on some of the petrol pumps seem to be quicker than others. Oh. Now, I mean, that's just you pay your money and take your chance. But he felt they had been losing time on the refueling element of the pit stop, and the only reason that he could think of for it was that the particular nozzle that they had chosen was a slow nozzle.
Roll up, here we are for the petrol pump bingo.
Is it cash only, or can you use a card?
I think you can swipe.
Yeah, okay, that might speed things.
I think you can. It's a proximity thing, you know. You just put the chip and pin
there. Yeah,
I think that works well. Somebody asked actually earlier on, who decides how much fuel you get? Well, there are a member of your team has to fill the car and has to be down there in their protective overalls and fireproof gear. You don't need a helmet and goggles on because it's being fueled from a normal nozzle. But there is obviously somebody from the organisers making sure that if you're only allowed 80 litres, you only put 80 litres in.
There is in all these days of high technology, the Creventic secret weapon is something called a yellow card, which is not a yellow card as in football, a warning card. This is a yellow card, like a report card, a record card, which keeps a record of everything that goes on. And if ever you're going to go up to see the race director about something, then you need to take your yellow card or cards with you, because they will record details of every single pit stop you've had.
Which reminds me, Nick Tierman, did we find out what Gary Robertshaw, the 38 team manager, had to go to the principal office for? He's not listening. He's getting ready for his big telly moment in a moment.
More haddock oil?
We'll try halibut oil. He's very specific about it being halibut oil.
Slip some haddock oil.
Dear, no, he won't like that. Certainly won't like that.
Did I just see the 4-car and the 1-car juxtaposition, or are they further apart?
No, they're in the same sector of the track, so they may be. This might be Bernd Schneider coming to put that second full lap on. In fact, he's done it. He's just done it.
Okay.
So Bernd Schneider is just ahead of Sebastian Asch. So now Bernd has 2 full laps on the field. Bernd and the rest of his team, not just Bernd on his own.
Well, but when last I saw our heroes, he didn't have a 2-lap lead.
Let's head down to Nick Tierman, who's been up to see Gary Robertshaw at the All-Eagle Munich team.
I had a good conversation with him, and I got a translator in so I can understand.
Yeah.
Well, basically, taking the penalty for stopping under code 60 during code 60, that's fine, no problems at all. The problem they've got is that while they were in the last code 60, René, who was driving them, was stuck behind a car that was doing 40 clicks.
Yeah.
And he said, well, can I go past? And the team said, no, it's no overtaking. Then the number 76 car went past both of them, and then the stewards called them and said, that's all right, because you were going too slowly during code 60 and bunged him with a penalty. So they're complaining about that one. They're arguing that one, saying it wasn't them that were going slowly, they were following the rules. And they're also not very happy about the top 5 code 60 penalty thing at all, because it's getting confusing. So
that's
effectively, they're having a row, really. But the stopping is fine. You can take your code 60 penalty during code 60.
It's interesting because René Munich, I mentioned his time when he was going round. The pro drivers were lapping at 3:25, 3:26. And 5:25 to 5:26, and the bogey time is 5:24.
Right.
on a Code 60. René Munich was doing 47s and 48s because he was clearly stuck behind somebody. I have to say, I feel that is a little unfair, that if someone's just driven by you, that you should be the one that gets penalised.
Yeah, how does that work?
And it has happened. We saw people overtaking last year, and we felt sure that we would see stop and go, which didn't happen. There is your leader, Bernd Schneider, with 2 laps on the whole field. Last time around, 2:02.829 for the great German. And will this be 3 in a row for Abu Dhabi Team Black Falcon? This has been already a very interesting first, an opening salvo, Paul, I think we'll call this.
Well,
because there has been plenty of explosive excitement.
But very much so, and I'm reminded as well that there's explosive excitement as well at 8 o'clock, isn't there? Because we've got that firework display here, which always catches me out, because I think in this area of the world that something else is happening. But yeah, we've only had 5.5 hours, and yet
we got rid of that, President.
And yet you do feel like you've been through something of a motor race already. Coming in for his routine pit stop, his 4th pit stop, Rick Abresch in the car that started the race on pole position, the number 21 Corvette.
Code 60.
And he's going on his way. Now Code 60 has happened just as number 4 has hit the pit lane.
Way.
Now, he was already in the pits when the Code 60 happened, so he will get his time
is he in the penalty box?
As a compensation.
He's in the penalty box, Paul.
Oh, well, he's got to do one anyway.
We're getting these like 1 an hour.
Because he had to do one anyway, because he was in last time when it was purple, and he's just come in again when it was purple. But it was a very short penalty box that time. So
well, actually, he owed 2, but that's...
It was very short anyway. So we got 1, 4, 38, 2, and 5.
And the reason for the Code 60 is one of the Ginettas, I believe it is the 152, I might be wrong on that, is stopped on the front straightaway down 3/4 of the way down pit road, but out on the front straightaway side of the wall.
It's Khaled Al-Khabazi, by the way, who is in car number 2 at the moment, and Sebastian Asch in 4. René Munich is in 38, and rounding off the top 4 is Bernd Schneider in number 1.
And we're getting a replay of the car just pulling off to driver's right, flashing his lights and bringing the car to a halt. So there was no spin or anything like that we saw, but the car has stopped.
Is that the Nova? One of the Nova cars?
I think so, yeah. I think it's 152.
Well, the Code 60 flags are out again for one of the Ginettas on the front straight, and that needs to be recovered. And Nick Damon, drama in the pit lane. The number 4 car came in just as the Code 60 was called from 2nd place, so we'll get a time adjustment for that. But it wasn't a smooth pit stop for the FAC Auto team.
No, really bad luck, because everything went fine. Driver change, not quite sure who's got in yet, but you'll find out in a second, because the transponder will tell you. But as he was about to leave, the 88 car came into the pit in front. The Dragon Racing A6 AM car, currently in 11th overall, blocked him completely. So he then had to be pushed back and meandered. Now, the problem with this is that cost him about, I suppose, 10 seconds, which will add a 0.625 per second to his penalty when he has to come back in again. It was nothing to do with him.
The safety vehicle is already on the front straight with the Ginetta, and the tow rope is being pulled out.
It is the 152.
In 61st place, as the red numbers on the side. I do like that.
That's
so that
convenient.
is the Nova car, is it? Was I right with that?
I think so, yeah. Let me look.
I'm not Bruce, I'm afraid.
No, it's Optimum.
It's Optimum. Okay, if I had 2 to choose for.
Yeah.
Well, that car had its issues earlier on, didn't it? Because Lee Mole brought that car in with some damage. Joe Osborne and Gary Sims had done a great job. And that car is on a fight back anyway in SP3. The illuminated skyline of downtown Dubai, and to the other side of the track is the marina area. And there is the stricken 152 Optimum racing car. I thought we weren't going to see that car, weren't they? Talking about having to do an engine change on that. If they have done that, turned that around very quickly.
They've done very well, haven't they? You know, Joe Bradley may have retired as a policeman,
Not
but
quite yet.
But Jim Roller is very close, because the way he picks up his notebook and writes down numbers as a car comes into the pits who's in the top 5.
He is making contemporaneous notes in his pocketbook.
And I'm sure he'll get his pocketbook out later on in order to give evidence to the judge for those who will have to serve time penalties later on. I am expecting as well that either number 38 or number 2 or both might also come into the pits on this purple period. Although, having said that, we haven't got any barriers to repair, so it should be a fairly short period. Once we get that Ginetta moved out of the way, then we should be good to go.
Bernd Schneider is an hour and 15 minutes into his stint. And the 38 car, if I'm reading that right, Paul, he's an hour and 42 minutes into his stint.
He is indeed. That's because we had during this stint, we did 60. Have a code 60.
No, do not tow him the wrong way into the pit lane.
Oh,
now, if he might be able to tow him straight across and back into the paddock.
I hope
that's the fuel area.
And that is, well, they've closed pit out for the moment, whilst the Ginetta is towed the wrong way down the pit lane, but off to driver's right. I've not seen that before. And there is an exit back into the paddock to camera right, to the, which is where everybody is coming out of at the moment.
66 coming out of the gas pumps. And they saw the 2 cars going in, here 66 and 46 out of the gas pumps. Boy.
There's a very large crane that's doing bungee jumps that I bet would reach that far. You could just crane it out.
The bungee people have gone home.
They'll have their closed down for the night.
No bungee after dark.
Okay.
And there he goes back into the...
And that is into the fueling area, and there's some access to the back of the pits from there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. As the 27 with Ralph Overhaus. Now that's the 8th position car.
Boy, that's bad luck to go into the fuel area behind the car that's under tow.
I have a suspicion that there might be a number of fuel pumps that aren't that are taken up for him. Heavens above, what was that? Nick Damon, what was that going out?
That was one of the Attempto Racing attempting to get away with the most revvy, noisy possible. I can't tell you which one it was. It was the 99 car, because it had orange flashes, I think.
Right.
But he was certainly giving it some. The number 5 came in. One of the Tarkanistas Junior got out and Tony Verlander got in, so they completed the whole section.
Yep.
He, of course, was 5th. So he'll be serving a penalty.
Interestingly, though, Nick, one of the ones who came in immediately after him was the 76, who was 6th, Dane Cameron, the BMW Z4. Now, I said before the race, the time to come into the pits during a code purple is if you're 6th, because there's no penalty to pay. You'll get the full whack, and I was assuming then that everybody would just stay out ahead of you, but of course other people have decided to come in as well, but it will stand Dane Cameron in good stead, or Claudia Hurtgen if it's she that is going to take over from Dane. We'll find out from that when the telemetry, when the transponder information catches up with us. As I was saying earlier on, this should be a fairly short purple period.
Nick Damon with some news from 1st and 4th place garage, which is
can't see which car it's for, but there's a Falcon coming in a second. I think it's going to be the 2.
Should be 2, Nick.
Yeah, judging by the it's not always the best way to judge by the fluorescent jackets, but it's looking like it's number 2 is going to come in.
Yeah, it's Al-Khabazi who has less fuel aboard in the number 2.
And is an hour and 55 on his stint, so he's going to be due for a change anyway.
Oof. Yes, right. That is very tight, so he has no choice, has he, at this point, whether he's got fuel or not.
Right.
In fact, he probably can't do another lap.
Not at code 60 speed.
No, he can't. So this is the number 2, needs to be in the pit lane right now. He's in the 2nd sector, so he should make it back around. 156 and 14 seconds.
Be Adam and Chris Dudulu who'll take over the two, so that completes a cycle for them as well, because Adam started the car just shy of 6 hours ago.
Oops. This is going to be rather closer than I would like it to be for that car.
He'll just make it, according to my very rough and ready calculation, he'll make it in 2 minutes, another 2 minutes from now, so we'll be right on the cusp. The timing stops at the moment that he breaks the pit in.
Yeah, he just needs to make it to the pit lane.
Yeah, but the timing only takes to pit in. It doesn't mean he needs to get to his pit box.
He has 3 minutes from now.
Yeah, no, he'll do that. He'll have...
and there he is. Looks like he's going down the back straightaway.
Nick DeFlo.
He was further around He wasn't as far around the lap as I thought he was. There's the incident that he's going past, and I think that is a turn 10.
Yep.
Right at the end of the back straight.
Oh. He should be coming through into sector 3 now.
And yes, he is. Meanwhile, the damaged car that is in the darkness there is...
So we had two. We had the one on the front straightaway, and we had something damaged back at turn 10.
That looks to me like it's got a gull-wing door. So, oh no, it's a Porsche. Thank you, somebody shone lights on it. That is an ex-Porsche, I'm afraid.
It could, I won't say it is, I say it could be
it's
number
the number
3.
It is the number 3. Good pick-up, guys.
Yep.
Good pick-up from the graphics guys as well. This was 27th and 8th in class for the FAC Autotech car. And then Marcel Wagner at the wheel of that car. There is the code 60 flag. Khaled Al-Kabesi, 90 seconds to get into the pit lane. Where is that number 2 Mercedes-Benz?
There he is, just entering pit lane right now.
Yeah, and where's the pit lane timer?
58.45.
58.50. Where's the pit lane start? 58.59 now. So, yeah, now. Wow, he made it with 1 minute, 60 seconds to go. He could not have got another lap in for sure. Nick Damon is down at the back, Black Falcon Garage.
And yes, he comes to a halt. Interesting, not showing... Oh, yes, we look at... Jürgen, if you can look at the front left. Jürgen, if you have a look at the front left there, you can see the damage caused by the coming together with the Ginetta earlier. That's where the impact happened. So he's only got carbon fibre damage. So I think that's probably robbing him of a little bit of downforce as they go forward. As I said before, Adam Christodoulou gets in. There's no one leaning in for a dated car from number 2. They've seen what they need to see. And after nearly 2 hours running, one of the mechanics there was looking for a bit too much for the look and nearly got his hand taken off as they left. And a relatively simple stop, but no lights on. No, very good point there. Good spot from the booth. There's no lights at the moment, so if he doesn't flick him on in a minute, he's going to find himself in trouble. Though it's one of those things, I think, where, when you're driving in the middle of town, you don't realise. They'll get to the petrol station and they'll go, oh, hang on, I better put them on. Anyway, well, I'm going to see if I can have a word with Carlo, because he might have a lot to say. After 2 hours, a lot of it at 60 kilometres, in fairness now.
And a couple of incidents at least as well.
Just a couple.
Yeah, make sure Adam Sharp isn't around when you
He's a very tall man, Adam, isn't he?
Yes, yes. He is Bruce Jones tall and Jeremy Shaw tall, isn't he? Still the clean. He's not too tall, actually. He's not Martin Haven tall. The clean-up goes on for the FAC Autotech Porsche. Paul had a question about the number 98 car from Rob Janer. Hello, Rob. He says, I know that they're a lowly team, but do we know what happened to the 98 car? It's only done 38 laps, so it's going to be down at the bottom. And I have to say, it hasn't pricked any knowledge from my side of what might have happened. It is the Grove and Dean guys that had issues early on in the Seat Leon Supercup, and I remember Bruce talking about it, but I don't remember what happened with them.
No, I'm afraid I don't either. I made some notes, but that didn't include that 98. The car there that Brett Woodman was the man who brought it into the pits. It has completed, as you say, 38 laps, and the timing screen is a clever timing screen, but it suddenly runs out when you stay in the pits for more than an hour, and I think it has been in the pits for more than an hour, so yeah, problems for that car. As Code 60 continues, René Munich must be getting low on fuel himself, not quite to the extent that we just saw from Khalid Al-Khabazi. And we can go down now to...
Just before we do, I have the answer, and thank you very much to the guys at Gold Track Days back in the UK, because it was punted by the Mosler, that 98 car. Well remembered, guys. Now we can go down to the leading cars pits, although it's the number 2 car with Khalid Al-Khabazi and Nick.
Khalid Al-Khabazi, that's what's called cutting it fine, as you came in just under the 2-hour limit. You must be slightly concerned when that Code 60 came out again.
Yeah, I mean, every time it comes at the wrong time for us when we were in the top 5. Even before I got in, we were just in the top 5, and we pitted and then went out in the Code 60, so you can never get it right. But it's okay. I got 3 Code 60 while I was out, which was annoying. That's why we had to drive such a long stint. It was just under 2 hours. It was annoying. I had problems with my hand getting stuck in the seat, and yeah, a small incident with the Aston, lost some time over there, but overall it was okay.
Yeah, the incident with the Aston, I think you also ended up hitting the Ginetta. What happened? Did you kind of bounce off one or get taken off?
I don't know. I overtook the car before it, and then at the apex of the second corner, I thought the Aston saw me, so I was just going by, and it seems that he didn't see me, so he came back and I spun.
You're the first driver to take a run in both of his cars. I mean, what happens now? A long rest before you go back out again, or are you going to be concentrating on the 2 or concentrating on the 1?
We'll see, to be honest. I wanted to get first stint in the night a little bit in the car number 2, and we'll see what happens now. We have a strategy, but it keeps changing with the race, how it goes.
That's endurance racing for you. Thanks, Colin.
Always a smile on the face. Code 60 at the moment. Jeremy Shaw joining us on the World Wide Web from California. It's dead simple, Jeremy. Everybody drives around at 60 kilometres an hour. The pit lane speed limit is 40 kilometres an hour. You can come in so long as you're not in the top... Well, anyone can come in, but if you're in the top 5, there's a slight adjustment on time. But basically, it is a full course caution without a safety car, without clumping anybody up, without having to close the pits, without having to wait for the leader to get to the start-finish line. It is just a full course caution at 60 kilometres an hour with the cars governed by the target time of, in this case, 5 minutes and 24, because that is 60 kilometres an hour round the length of the circuit. Dead simple, really.
And they can double check it per sector.
Oh, yes,
so
yes.
It's not like you could go fast and then slow down to hit the bogey time for 60 clicks.
Correct.
It's checked per sector. Jeremy, it's the best way
Get used
I've
to
ever
it.
seen to handle it.
Get used to it, because
awesome.
A version of this is going to be used at Le Mans next year, at least in sectors. The Nürburgring 24 Hours have done that for quite some time. By the way, your boy's doing good. Conor Di Felipe has been absolutely
star, mate.
Outstanding, and the car that he's with, the number 4, has Martin Ragginger at the moment in that car and is in 3rd position. And Conor has run in the top 3 himself, in fact.
It's a real 2nd position, actually, for that number 4 Porsche, with misfortune to its sister car, the number 3 FAC Autotech car. But the number 4 car running well, and it will effectively end up 2nd, although it does have a penalty to take.
Well, not much action on the circuit at the moment, and we apologise for that. Don't forget, we continue all the way through the race on www.24hseries.com in sound and vision, and in audio as well. Take us with you on radiolemans.com or on one of the radio apps, many radio apps that there are. And, of course, we'll be back later on for some updates through the night as well. However, in the sky above the Dunlop to Dubai 24 Hours and the Dubai Autodrome, it is traditional that we do have some aerial excitement, And this has coincided nicely with nothing on the track, so we can sit back and go, ooh, a red one, a green one, as you enjoy the fireworks here at the Dubai Autodrome. As ever, very spectacular. Dubai breaking the world record at New Year with the number of fireworks around, not just the Burj Al Khalifa, but also Dubai Festival City got in on the act as well. It was a huge firework display, and we're getting its little brother here at the moment. So Bernd Schneider leads by a couple of laps under full course caution, code 60, as the number 3 FAC Autotech Porsche is being recovered. Rennie Munich is in the pits in second place, but Martin Ragginger will come through to take that in a moment in the number 4 Porsche, with Adam Christodoulou in the number 2 Mercedes-Benz in 4th position, and Dame Cameron in the 76 BMW in 5th position.
And we are now going to look at the highlights of these sessions so far. Whilst we enjoy these. Wow. Sorry. Well, there are fireworks behind me, and there have been fireworks on the track. So
So, with the code 60 still in effect, this is our 5th code 60, he says, looking down at Paul as he flicks onto the screen and gives me the thumbs up.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, for that, thank you. And if you are just joining us from watching us on a TV somewhere around the world, then we have come off the broadcast TV now, but we will have some pictures for you on www.24hseries.com, and of course you can take Radio Le Mans with you anywhere you need to go. Jim Roller is back in the booth. It will be Bruce Jones in the Powered by Nissan pit lane, and Paul Trustwell will get us cracking on here as well, with just before we take a little bit of a break for something to eat. Bernd Schneider leading by a couple of laps. Not our surprised faces, gentlemen?
No, not at all. And Paul especially, because Paul predicted that the #1 car would not only be the team to beat, but handle the field.
Yeah,
I mean, you expectantly.
Sorry, no. I mean, the other thing which I think hasn't surprised us is the performance of the number 76 BMW, which at the moment is all right, sitting down in 5th place. Just open brackets. When Dane Cameron came into the pits under the purple, Jim, I noticed he didn't actually change the driver, and I was expecting there to be a driver change there. So we have to keep our eye on Dane Cameron's times now, because he has, or his stint, I should say, because his last pit stop was a pit stop without a driver change, so the stint time that we're being shown on the screen won't be the real stint time, is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, exactly. And do you remember how long he'd been in the car when he pitted?
No, that was. So that car is going well. I think the thing that we mustn't overlook is the impact of these various time compensations that are going to happen. And the other thing which might happen is that with all these code 60s, the timekeepers are going to be looking through all the sector times that have been set, and I'm not quite sure how rigorous they are, but if there is a car which has been exceeding the 60 km/h speed limit, just as we heard that it was 38 Mercedes, wasn't it, was suggested he was going to be penalised for going too slowly. If anybody goes too fast, then there will be a very much more severe penalty. You've got to be aware, and these penalties can affect anybody in the field. And just as races can be won and lost in the pits and by driving and by bumping into each other, you can get the situation that races can be won and lost by not very good use of penalties. And it strikes me at the moment we've got cars coming across the start-finish line at distinctly less than 60 km/h, because they're bunching up, and this is what happens. You get
look at the times again, guys. It should be 5:24. René Muniz 5:24.732 learned his lesson, but we have people out there 42.3 for the Ferrari 458.